Coming up on this episode of The Brain Drain Show.
Just went skating the next day and forgot that we'd almost just been murdered the night before. Seeing Andy Scott in the early days, I just wanted to be that good. Got me the hairs on my arms, literally standing on end talking about it. I wanted to be a vert skater. I should have been a vert skater. I think he just got out of prison or something and he got like a knife block. He was throwing these knives that was in this house. I stood on the platform just next to Danny Way and I was like, don't say something stupid, don't say something stupid. And I was like, where are you going tomorrow? So I remember like Deacon phoning me. And I was like, on the phone at Deacon, and he's asking me what boards I want. Skating with like Rowley and Arto at the time. I was skating like some rails with them and thinking, like, I'm well out of my league here. Like they've got the wrong guy. There's a big slam. I'd fallen on my back and on my arm. Broke my wrist. She's like, can you just pull down your pants and lie down on the table? Back passage inspection because you fell on your back. She stuck a finger up my ass. She just went, oh, okay. She's like, can you feel that? I was like, yeah. Just hung up straight to the flat. Collarbone was just completely snapped. So I still had a broken wrist, but I just sawed the cast off. 20 stairs or something. Each stair was like this big. Even if I landed it or got to the bottom, I risked impaling myself on this spike. I jumped from the rail to the bottom. Ankle just gone. And then we bumped into Harold Hunter. He was wearing like a tux and a bowler hat or something. He was like, you want to come to party? It was all just get a bit out of hand, and then just got 2 drinks saved, and I just like, when Leo got near me, I just point blank range just threw them in his face. He just knocked me out with his big Leo fist.
Good evening and welcome to another great episode of The Brain Drain Show with me, Forde Brookfield. Joined to my left is my great goth lord co-host, Toby Batchelor. Toby, tell him your name.
It's Toby.
And
the brains behind this operation.
The brains. Oh, there's not many. And
Fraser as well.
Fraser, yeah. And joined to our left is a very special guest.
It's Woody.
It's Woody. Round of applause and studio audience, please. Hey, mate.
Hey, mate. Thanks for coming.
Good to see you.
You're welcome.
You're looking very beautiful today, might I say.
When we put out things on Instagram, like who do you want to see, your name comes up a lot.
Really?
Yeah, a lot more than you think.
I know it's probably hard
really
to
surprised
believe.
about that. Yeah, I feel like I'm somewhat in the past. Yeah.
Well, you are in the past, but you're also in the present.
That's it. I think everyone we have on is kind of in the past. That's
well, that's the whole
and
idea.
Even
of
only
it,
maybe a bit mediocre in the past as well. But
they're our favourite kind of guests.
But when you look at like the people who look at this, it's people aged 35 to 45 is our peak.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is like, how old are you? You're the same age as me, 21?
Yeah, I'm the same age as you.
21, yeah.
21.
So like, you know, we're peak that kind of that era.
Yeah, that era just as well for us, doesn't it? 'Cause it connects the dots. Everyone we have on, their stories all connect together, and we'll sometimes get people messaging us like, oh, I always heard that story, but I didn't know this connection or how it worked. So people are very appreciative of it, which is nice.
I think it was one of the eras as well, like, you know, through one of the biggest changes and some of the most drastic changes in skateboarding.
What would you say is your, like, so you we'll start at the beginning. Like, what year did you start skating?
I think it was about, this is why I was trying to look for those magazines in my loft today, because obviously the magazines
leave it to last minute, yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Right, yeah, good stuff.
But it was about 87.
Yeah.
And, the magazine I was looking for was an old copy of Skateboard magazine, like the UK one.
Yeah.
And it had one of my Chester skate park, the concrete skate park in Chester on the front cover. Mental skate park that just got sort of bulldozed before we really got a chance to skate it. And the other one was like Rodney Mullen was in the UK. I think he had the cover. I think that was the skateboard. It might be a Rad. Not too
doing
sure.
the like the tweaked out.
Oh yeah, that was it. The tweaked out indie on the cover. Yeah.
That was in London, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wasn't it like Leicester Square or somewhere? I might
think
be.
So yeah, but that was like when I'd actually discovered magazines, because
I think that was 88, that issue.
Yeah, like same as I've heard people talking about before on the show. It's like we all started off with those unbelievably horrendous Turbo IIs that were everywhere, and you'd go to Blackpool and they'd just be hanging up.
Yeah,
just all over.
Was
the
that
outside
a complete board, the Turbo II?
It was kind of like,
because I just put up that clip of Avi skating his Turbo II from when he was a kid.
What colour did you have?
It was all like Powell rip-off graphics and stuff like that, wasn't it? Like,
and Veriflex like rip-offs as well, wasn't it? Like
Veriflex was like a massive step up, even though they were like kind of budget boards and stuff like
There's
that.
been quite a lot of the Veriflex, what do they call it, XP series. There's quite a lot of them on Facebook Marketplace for sale. I kind of always wanted one.
Yeah.
Like, you went in Toys R Us and it was like you say, there was like, you get your Turbo 2 sort of level shit. And then it was like Veriflex, and they had like rubber wheels and proper bearings.
Rubber wheels.
That was like the thing that everyone wanted.
Because you had this Turbo 2, they had the plastic wheels which kind of like peeled off.
And the more you use them, they just start peeling.
Yeah, but
what colour did you have? The one that Avi's got's black and red with black wheels. And
I had like 10 of them or something.
I only had one, but I made it last. I re-gripped mine with pink grip tape.
Yeah, because you used to be able to get that from like a local bike shop or something, like some grip tape or some
You go
stickers.
it was like a sports shop that did bike stuff, fishing gear, and then it'd have like some Pacer acid drops in the cabinet, one indie.
Or you used to be able to, sorry, butting in, but used to buy the single Veriflex wheels, so you used to like buy them one at a week, one at a time.
Yeah, yeah. What was that?
I just said I was whispering to Fraser that it's the one on the right, the black and red one.
I would really like to get one of those again.
Avi sent me a load of footage of it. And
I saw that.
He was just like, I've just pulled this out.
My graphic was different. Mine was like some kind of Tron-esque, like graphic.
I remember that one. Yeah.
I think it was like
there was
on
all
a
sorts.
navy colour.
There was that one with missile. There was the dragon ones. But they were all, like they were like they were like convex, weren't they? And the grip would
the grip tape was cut out, so it had like a gap around it. It was like stuck on weird shape. But I mean,
wheels
that's just...
wouldn't. It's surprising that any of us ever ended up actually carrying on with skateboarding with those as our first boards. But they didn't go that fast, I'm sure.
That looks like he's got some upgraded.
Is that
wheels?
Avi?
Yeah. He's got some upgraded wheels on that.
He just said this was the. He says
they were so flat, those boards.
I was rocking like parts of those skateboards for like well into getting my first proper skateboard. I'd still have like a base plate or something like that from a Turbo 2. Or
didn't have plastic
bearings. The bearings were like kind of like had the bearing in there and had another spacer sticking out of the bearing.
Yeah, we still see those to this day. They're quite cheap ones. Yeah.
What was your next step with skating? Like, did you you started seeing you could get proper gear and
I mean it was a weird one. It's like a slow burn. Like I kind of saw a couple of kids in the neighbourhood sort of getting into it, and we had this hill on the estate at the back that everyone used to just sit on their asses and ride down, and it had loads of steps as well, but each step was like this wide, so people would learn to sort of like drop down all the steps, but it was on a downhill as well, so everyone was doing that, and I was like, oh, this looks pretty good. But I was always into gymnastics and martial arts and like all that as like a really young kid. I just wanted to jump around.
What kind of martial arts?
I did everything. I was like, I did 2 styles of kung fu. We did karate, did jiu-jitsu.
Are you going to fuck us up?
No, I was stopped doing all that. I was like 7, so. But might do.
So what was
But it was a natural progression to from jump, because I always just used to watch the videos and see him jumping and doing somersaults. So I learned how to do all that, and then I was like, I just wanted to be in the air or jumping or whatever. And so skateboarding, you'd see snippets of it here and there, wouldn't you, on telly? And I saw all these kids in the neighbourhood, and I was like, oh. I used to be able to like throw the skateboard back above my head and then just sort of jump in the air, and whilst it was up here, I'd just be whipping it underneath my feet and riding off, and people would be like, whoa, check that guy out.
That was always the thing, wasn't it? You always wanted to like get airborne.
Yeah, oh yeah, so it was like literally.
I remember getting like inner tubes and putting them around the board and just jumping and holding on to that. And
see, we had Hoover bands. And I've never really heard of anyone talk about it, but you used to be able to get 2 Hoover bands. And do you remember sky hooks?
Yeah.
So they used to act like sky hooks, and you put one over the nose and one over the tail, and you could just hook your feet right underneath them. They were just the right size, and you used to be able to do anything.
I don't even know what a fucking Hoover band
I don't know what a Hoover band is.
What is this old English you're talking?
They fit perfectly. I guess there's like hold Hoover bags in place so they don't pop off when the. Must have been like old Hoovers or whatever, but you used to put them around the nose and around the tail, and they were perfectly sized. You just hook your feet under them. Like
we just got the inner tube
on mini ramps and stuff, but without hands.
What, straight away on your Turbo 2? 540s?
No, this was later than Turbo 2s, so we jumped.
What was your
Hoover
first
bands
proper
were a bit
skateboard
later.
then?
So
and what shop was it from?
Well, there was a shop in because I grew up in Northwich in Cheshire. And it was a shop called Jack G's Cycles, and it was like
Jack D Cycles.
Jack G's, still there.
Is it?
Yeah. But they don't sell skateboards anymore. But at that time in the late 80s, like sort of, I don't know, 88, like the Bones Brigade was kind of a thing, and it was all that Santa Cruz.
Police Academy 4,
yeah,
Back
yeah.
to the Future.
There was a few
Gleam in the Cube.
few things, wasn't there? Just sort of spiking people's interest. But there was like it was like Sims, Santa Cruz, Powell, Schmidt Sticks, I don't know, like
That's good.
those sorts
Vision.
of those Vision, those sorts of brands, and they were just lined
GNS.
up on this back wall, and it was. I used to go in there every Saturday with my dad, and it was I was on a route to getting a proper skateboard, but it had to be Christmas.
Yeah.
So I'd just go in there for like months, just sort of like just peruse and then waiting to choose them. And like I remember like the Corey O'Brien just being like, oh my god, look at
They
that
were so
board.
good, the graphics back in the day. I remember that.
Oh,
as well,
the graphics and the shapes, everything was like a chainsaw, like a
Yeah,
ripsaw
every
type
board
shape.
was
or-
different.
Yeah, not functional in the slightest. Most of them.
Yeah.
Well, at least the
surprised
board
it
will
took
look
them so
good.
long to come to the popsicle type shape,
Yeah.
isn't it? But
It's like the graphics were amazing, but it was also the colours of stuff. Like I remember going into Billy's in Cambridge
yeah,
the first time, and that was like probably 88, 89. And everything was fluorescent.
yeah, it was, wasn't it?
All the
Yeah.
graphics were bright, and
And
I
then
just remember being like, "Whoa!" Trucks like going sidewinders were like neon green,
Yeah.
and
then
just being like, "This is fucking unreal."
And then you'd have the
Proper loved it.
nose bones and
Yeah.
the rip grip and the rails and like everything was like super
Skate
colourful.
rags
And the
pants.
big the way your board sounded like when it was like it had the big wheels,
Like a
big
fucking
soft
tank.
wheels. Yeah, it was
Sounds
like
like your-
the sound of the Forde when you used to hit it on the floor was
Yeah.
like because the boards were thicker, weren't they as well? I eventually got my Ray Barbie, but it cost me
Which
a lot
graphic
more.
have you got?
It's the Ragdoll.
An original Powell.
yeah, because that's the blue one.
Have you still got one? You
Yeah,
got one at home on the wall?
Oh, actually, it's a funny story because I bought it off eBay, and I got it for a reasonable price at the time. It was about 20 years ago. But when I went to pick it up, it turned out I was buying it off one of my old mates that I grew up
No way.
skating with in Northwich, and he was like,
Amazing.
yeah, he kind of realised beforehand,
Yeah,
but he didn't say anything until we went to do the collection. It was really nice. Ross Milne.
nice.
That
That was a good graphic. That one. I mean, they've redone that graphic loads, haven't they? The ragdoll.
Yeah, but it's never as good as the first
Nah, of course
incarnation.
not.
Like that, I mean, 'cause you used to look at that. Used to look in the magazines at all the boards, and the graphics would run for a long time, wouldn't they? So you'd have your eye on something, and then in the old magazines, you used to have the stats, didn't you? The wheelbase, the
Yeah.
nose length, tail length, like all these different stats, and you'd just study them, and you felt like you knew all the stats of like the Nicky
Yeah.
Guerrero. You're like that tail's too long, bit of a vert board. You're looking at the other ones, going, yeah, that's more me. Bit of a like wheelbase, and you didn't know anything. You were just like, yeah, this is gonna be me. And then
How did you order them? Did you cut slips out the magazines and send it? 'Cause it was like, if you want to order, fill in this and put your card details or.
yeah, I mean,
Sometimes it was
yeah,
postal
that
orders,
one
wasn't
there, yeah, that. I mean, that board just does something for like it takes me back
Yeah,
that
nostalgia.
part in Bandness
Yeah,
Yeah.
with the music and is it 16mm film, is that one?
yeah. Film.
Yeah, and just the kind of the pace that it goes at, and like Ray Barbie just looks like the coolest dude on earth, just sort of like dancing down the
He's
street.
one of the coolest dudes.
Mate, that I still watch that now if I need cheering up. I just put on that Ray Barbie section and
Yeah.
just with the music, and I'm like,
yeah.
this feels
I'm
good.
I'm similar, but the first one I saw was Public Domain. Was that after or before Bandness?
I'm not sure about how the Powell videos kind of lay out, because it was almost like they were all because they were presented to me at a bit of a later date. And not
Bootleg copy, yeah.
no, like they'd just be lent around people, wouldn't they? The first Powell video I actually saw was Attack, because it was on telly. Do you remember?
I got it on VHS.
But it was on telly.
Yeah,
Like in the 80s. It was
Yeah.
like I remember like waiting for it to come on because it was listed in the
You were
papers
like-
as being
that was
on.
big,
Yeah.
big stuff back in the day. If there was anything skateboarding
No, we'd
on
never
TV,
seen anything. Yeah.
you were like, holy. Did you ever see Street Skate with Robin Knights?
Yes.
That was a
yeah,
good one
yeah.
as well.
But the first one I saw, the first proper video I saw was. Sorry if we're jumping around here.
Don't matter.
Is that
No, do it. Yeah, no, do it.
But so I'd recut the only bit of skateboarding I had was this NSA competition that had been on telly, And
did you record it off the TV?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. But it's one of them where you're like, fuck, it's on telly. And like you're scrabbling around to try and find a tape that hasn't got something on it already.
Copy over your mum's
and you stick it in,
tape.
and you get half of it. But it was a vert comp and a street comp in the States. But it was a very kind of telly friendly version of skateboard coverage. And it was mainly just sort of talking to people, and it was when Tony Hawk's board came out, and it was like that horrible board he had with the long nose and the medallions on it, and it was like a real new thing that nose was like so long.
6 and 3 was it?
Oh yeah,
or was it 5 and 3
big
quarter?
news.
Yeah, big nose.
It was the first board that had a nose over 4 inches or something, and it was 5 and 3 quarter or
And
6
everyone's
and
like,
3
oh
quarter.
my god, this is going to change everything. You could ride it backwards and everything.
Yeah.
I found that the bird claw graphic with the forest in the background,
Yeah.
like the claw with the face in the middle. I found that board in a display in the shop in Prague, and I was just like, would you sell this? And he was like, oh, I'll have to phone the owner and see if he wants to sell it. And he phoned the owner. He's like, no way. I was like, I'll give you 100 quid for it. And he said to the owner, he's offering you 100 quid here. And the owner's like, go on then.
So you got it?
Yeah, I got this board.
Have you still got it?
No, I sold it in some tough times. I sold it, and it's one of my biggest regrets. I loved that board as a kid, but I walked out of the shop in Prague, and my mates were just like, you fucking got that board for 100 quid. I was like, I know. And I got out of the shop and I literally just ran off of it because I didn't want anyone coming back and going, we've changed our mind. You can't have it now.
Imagine telling young Woody that you were going to get that board. You would lost your mind.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. It was when the whole collecting thing was sort of starting to kick off, and people were realising
kind of silly now.
It went silly, and it's kind of flattened out now. You can't really get much stuff at the minute, but I don't know. I mean,
maybe it'll come back, but then is there going to be those buyers for that product? Because for us, it's just nostalgia. But the reissues thing is as maybe you can get that feeling. Might not be the original, but you kind of like, oh well, that'll do. Like, so maybe I'm not willing to.
Yeah, I mean, there's only
plunk a load of money on.
I've only got one like proper old board from back in the day, but that's it. The rest of them are reissues and just ones I liked more than anything.
Mine were the ones that I wanted as a kid. I couldn't have because I didn't have my own money.
Yeah,
and you'd only have one board every so often, and that board would
last you for
it would last you for the year, and you'd have a like because you don't see it now, but everyone, maybe it's because all the tails were flat, I don't know, but you straight. Everyone used to ride around with a tail like that big, and if you put the tail down, the board would stand up like that because the wheels were big and the tail was short.
That's why I still prefer a shorter tail board.
Yeah,
because that's how you
learn all your stuff on that board. And that's
like your tail would be so fucked and worn down and like flapping around.
And you just swap with other people who had a similar kind of state board, wouldn't you? And you're like, I'm on like I remember like having a Natas Panther.
Yeah,
swapping like a pretty good board with a longer tail for a Natas Panther with a shorter tail, just because I was like, that feels like more me. That feels like I feel like I'm on a Natas board now.
I wonder if anyone.
I learnt melon to fakies on mini ramps on that. And I was just like, fuck, this board.
Definitely more you that one, then, wasn't it?
I wonder if anyone like my age and era has that same need to collect boards, because there's some boards that I want to get that I had when I was a kid, but nothing was really like stand out graphic wise. Everything went a bit plain.
Well, and the turnaround of the graphics is so quick. You don't get a chance to really kind of settle.
Yeah, they're not on the shelf for that long. Whereas, like you said, they stuck around. Like the only board that I wanted to get, and I had one and I sold it, and it was actually Kennelly got me it when I worked at Slugger. It was a heroin board, and it was Dearman's first one, and it was designed by French, and it's white, and it's all pen drawing of a deer in the woods, like a deer man in the woods. And I sold it years ago, and then when I worked at Slugger, Martin were like, oh, I've seen someone selling something you might be interested in. And I was like, oh, what is it? And he was like, oh, I've got it here. And he pulled it out, and it was like this Deerman board that I'd had years ago and sold.
Yeah.
And I was just like, how much do you want for it? And he was like, no, I just got it for you. And I was like, now, what a nice, like that he just remembered that, and I was like, I'm looking for that board. And,
but he's sort of dude who does things like that.
But his mind is like, he's like a book. Like he just like obtains all that information.
Yeah.
And I probably told him that years ago, and he just seen it, and he were like, Forde want that.
That's a really nice gesture, isn't it? He spits stuff back at me from the past. I'm like,
Yeah, he listens.
Yeah,
he's a good listener. He takes in what you're. When you talk to him, he's recording that.
And as well, you can have a conversation with him, and you can say one like key word, and he'll quote it from a real obscure film, and you're like, what? And he's like, he'll just tell you what film it is, and you're like, oh yeah, of course it is. But he just keeps it all. He keeps it all in. Like, he's the quickest person I've ever met. If you have a conversation with him, that you can make a joke out of anything you've said.
Yeah, and he's so complex with it as well. And sometimes you're like, okay, I know this is a joke. I know it's funny and it's got a cultural reference that I maybe should understand, but it's going to take me a minute to catch up with you. Like,
yeah, he's a fucking legend, isn't he?
Yeah,
I was with him at the skin thing, and he's just so funny, isn't he? He's just such a pleasant person to be around.
We were discussing that skin thing for like weeks before we went, because he was just trying to get us to pay for it.
He's a proper skate nerd, isn't he?
Yeah, he was trying to get us to pay for it, and we were saying that New Balance were paying for you guys.
There was a breakdown in communication. He said Haynes, as in Paul Haynes, had paid for our hotels. You misheard it, or Stanners, or someone at Spiv misheard it,
me,
and heard it as Baines had paid.
That's it, yeah, so it's Baines rather
than
Haynes.
Did anyone mention it to Baines? Because I bet Baines was like, what am I going to pay for them for?
Martin was trying to get,
he came in our hotel.
He's had a family room off us before now, and been on holiday with his
He came in with our room, it's all right, isn't it?
Big up Mark Baines though.
Yeah,
big up Baines. Big up Bainesy.
I forgot to say. Sorry, I'm butting in again.
No, but
away.
It's your.
This is your time to shine, Woody.
To go back to the Ray Barbie thing.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I was actually trying to buy. I remember when I was working in Exit, and they were talking like late '90s or something. Mark McKay?
Yeah.
The graphics. I think he's one that did the Blender one. Not the Blender, the Barbie one.
I think he did.
And I think you could buy the original artwork.
That'd be sick to have that next
to it.
I
was like
hanging up next to it would be good.
I don't know whether it would have just been a copy or something, but I was like, I'm gonna buy this. But it was like when the internet was kind of new and I didn't really know how to use it. And Exit had this kind of like computer at the back with the internet on it. And because Richard Teal was one of the first guys doing like online skate sales, really. And I remember trying to work it out, and I'm pretty sure it was like it was the opportunity to buy that graphic.
It might have been like
might have been a print.
Print of it. But, yeah. Just what we were talking about on collecting skateboards. What you were saying, like it went a bit crazy, but the kind of era now for collectors is moved on from like 80 to 91. It's now 92 to 95. So all super thin boards and that. Kundal messaged me the other day. You just picked up an Aesthetics Rob Welsh board, and it's 7.5 inches wide from like 94, I think. I might be wrong, but that's kind of where the money's at now. And Jim as well. He's got loads of like early Mad Circle, and when GNS changed to just and stuff Mad like Circle, that. New Deal, the original New Deal slicks and stuff. That's kind of where the money's at.
Yeah,
so
slicks.
It's moved along to the next
slicks
generation.
Are hard to get because like skateboarding was like there's a certain shape of board, isn't there? Like the kind of egg shape. And it's really hard to get because skateboarding was dead at that point, and the production wasn't what it was in the 80s when they were like just literally just ramping out the Powell boards and Santa Cruz boards. But then when it went to like, I can remember it dropping. I remember when it dropped off a cliff in like 90, 91, 92. Like basically a New Deal, when skating went super tech and the wheels went really, we'll talk about this all the time, don't we? But it's like, I think loads of people quit because nobody ever landed a trick, and it was just loads of skateboarders just kicking their boards everywhere.
Getting the most horrific shinners.
Stopping on stones, and boards would snap, and people were snapping their boards like as a trend. Like, it was just so weird.
This is so fucked, isn't it?
But,
actually, that Jeremy
but they're really hard to come across boards from that era, especially slicks and stuff.
Yeah, there would be very few in good condition. Jeremy Klein on his Epically Lated talks about that whole fad of snapping boards and how Rocco...
I couldn't snap a board.
Yeah.
I tried a couple of times, just wouldn't. But then I was like, if I snap this board,
I ain't got anything.
Not only are my parents going to be like super pissed off, but like I'm not going to have anything to do what I love doing most every day, all day.
Yeah.
But because the pros are doing it, of course, obviously, like everyone was trying to copy the pros in the videos, but they're getting free boards all the time. But then people would just be like,
it is pretty good on that Klein episode, isn't it? Where he said that there was a conspiracy theory that people thought Rocco told people to snap their boards in videos, so it boosted sales.
Probably
the only time we would snap boards
it probably worked, or it killed skateboarding.
Yeah. like if we had a crack board or something like that, or you really snap the nose off, then you'd focus the rest of it. You'd try and get the trucks out, wouldn't you? You'd be like, snap the nose, snap it before, snap either side. And you'd be like, if I did that now, my ankles would just go like that. And I'd be like,
it's not ethical to do it now. Like, it's a tree, isn't it? And you're like, how disrespectful is that? Snapping your board when that's like a tree.
There must be a lot of boards in landfill.
But when people used to snap the board and then snap the sides, like what you're saying, like, how the fuck? Like, I when I was I'm kind of small, but like, was a small kid. Was a small kid who didn't weigh very much, but so I never snapped a board.
But there was a way to do it.
A defect with the board.
Yeah, then we got a lot of factory second boards over here at that point.
Yeah, I never snapped a board, and I snapped this salmon agar like first day, and I was just so gutted. Like, that was it then, because I had a quota, I got bored, so expensive, and it would be a good few months, probably half a year, like, before I'd get, if I didn't need one, my parents would help me out, but realistically, like, that board is to last you X amount of time, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was almost like Christmas to birthday to Christmas. That's how it was when I was growing up anyway. So it'd be like, eventually you'd go down to a board that was like the same shape as the Vallely Barnyard board, where it was just so flat on the nose and tail.
Yeah, I didn't have it like that because my birthday's on Boxing Day.
And you come from wealth, so you were... So he was always getting like...
Don't come from wealth.
I remember him saying to me that I only got 10 boards for Christmas once.
I wish at that point. I just remember riding boards until there was... You couldn't ride them anymore.
Slalom, pool.
Yeah, it was... Yeah, pretty fucked.
I used to get the ones in splits, because when, like I was saying before, when the shapes changed, an awful lot of boards ended up in the bargain bin. Yeah. So obviously when I'd go in with my dad, it'd be like, there's those ones up there, or there's ones in the bin. And I'd be like, no, I need these. And he's like, yeah, but look at the price of these in the bin. They're like half the price.
And all those bargain boards.
And they're a lot bigger.
Oh, I'd cave in. I'd cave in, and I remember I had this GNS Neil blender with the lobster on it.
Yeah.
And flat nose, but I just, talking about wheelbase, I literally shifted the truck from put the front holes into the back holes at this wheelbase like this, this like super long nose. And I was like, but I learned how to skate it and could do everything on it.
You just made do with what you had back then. Yeah. It wasn't like there was like, I mean, we're all pretty lucky that if we need anything, we can pretty much
poor back in the day.
Get what we want now, can't we? We just, most people, very, what am I trying to say?
Less fortunate in regards.
I don't know. It just
back then it
feels like we were quite poor back then. I don't know. We didn't have.
I feel like everything was poor back then.
Something that was £50, because that's boards were the same price they are now. Not more expensive now, but that was a massive investment for, especially because your parents didn't understand it, and then you'd come back after your first day of use,
it'd be scratched,
and it's got a scratch on it, and the tails all worn down. They're like, "What the fuck? We only just bought you that." It's like, well, that's how it works.
Yeah, the first board I got, I don't think my mum expected like what it was going to be used for.
Yeah,
I think she thought it was just going to be like a shelf piece, which I probably said it would, but incredible board, Bam Margera.
Yeah.
Bam Margera board with Destructo trucks with a heartogram on it, roller snakes wheels, and Bones Reds.
Yeah.
And I can remember taking it for the first skate, like learning rock fakies, fakey rocks and all that. And then you'd get like the bit of wax on the board from like the coping. And I like rubbed it off and I was like, oh my God, the graphic doesn't scratch.
Yeah.
And then obviously the second time it got worse, my mum was like, what are you doing? I was just like, I don't know.
This is skateboarding.
It's just what it is, Mum.
Same with shoes, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, we used to go through shoes so quick, especially around the pressure flip era, where you were just how many flips you could do. It'd be constantly just rubbing your foot along grip tape for hours and hours and hours. If there was a board that you could have, like from back in the day, which one would you like to have?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of the main one that I wanted was the Barbie Ragdoll. I got that. But my first board, which I didn't say earlier on, was it was a Schmidt stick Sandy Howell with the pyramid eye.
I don't remember that one.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite I don't know, a lot of people aren't aware of it, but it just had this big pyramid eye, and like the same one from the dollar, the Masonic one, and that was so you'd have to put in Andy Howell Schmidt sticks. But that was the board that I chose from Jack G's Cycles, and massive, great big wide thing with hardly any nose. But so that was the board that I most wanted. but because I'd got into the collecting side of things quite early on, I searched for it every day for like literally every day for years.
Yeah.
And eventually it come up on it showed up on eBay, and it was £80, like pretty good condition used, but it had the rails.
Did you get
rails on it? So yeah. I put in a great big bid for it. I put in something like £400, just so it made sure that I would get it, but it didn't shift any further than 80, so I just got it for 80.
Nice.
The guy who sold it to me, if he knew that now, he'd be like, "Oh, I should have been there, just like bidding it up."
It's whatever you're willing to
that's
pay,
it.
isn't it?
You know, there'll
Whereas
be somebody
I was willing
like
to pay that because it was my first skateboard and that.
I remember when I first saw the Lee Ralph board with the man crushed in on it, and I always wanted that. And then I started skating them, and I skated that board back to back for years. I've got one on my desk downstairs, but that's like a 15-inch wheelbase or something crazy.
Yeah, and it's got like 1-inch nose, if that, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'd had some of the best sessions on that board. Like, it just felt amazing. But that's the board I always wanted. And yeah, there's one sat on my desk downstairs, and sometimes I look at it and I'm like, it's Lee Ralph.
Yeah.
Like, it's still so good.
And so there's that there's an original like Corey O'Brien Reaper. That's
Jim's got one of those.
Yeah, and I don't know why, but I didn't really see much of Jim Tebow when I was a kid. I saw him in Speed Freaks, but that Joker graphic was quite one of the time, wasn't it? And is it Jesse Martinez? Jesse Martinez. Yes, SMA Santa Monica Airlines board, where it's got the kind of, is it like the kind of the yin and the yang, or the black and the white hand joining?
I can't remember now, but it wasn't the.
But I just used to look at that one and be like, that shape's like fucking good, like.
Yeah.
But,
didn't have a really pointy nose.
Yeah, really pointy nose, like literally to a point, and then.
See that the Corey O'Brien there.
I mean, that graphic when it was in the stores.
It's insane. Like in GNS footage where Neil Blender's going through the skate shop and he's like, "It's 1990, boys. Let's get away from skulls," or something like that.
Still there though.
Still going. I don't even remember ever seeing any footage of Corey O'Brien.
Yeah, the graphics from that era were just like.
Something else, isn't it?
Been on that topic for ages now. Apologies.
No, that's good.
But,
I like all that
but
stuff.
to be fair, that like there's something happens inside. When I see those boards from that era, you get a feeling like inside.
See the wheels, the OJ team riders behind you, Woody.
Yeah.
It's like I was talking to Skin about it when he was here. It's like we were just talking about old mags and the ads, and it's like there's something about that graphic on that wheel which takes you right back to looking at those ads in the back
how
of
you
Rad.
felt at that time.
Yeah, nostalgia, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a very poisonous and expensive thing, though. Nostalgia, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But
look at that. Whew.
Yeah, that
original.
type of that
$1,000.
See, you know Jim Harahan, he's got a lot of this stuff, the originals. You know, like when SMA came out with Everslicks, Santa Cruz Everslicks SMA ones, he's got all the original run of those. Alan Peterson SMAs and loads of that.
Mate, I remember the first time I ever went in split skates was when I first experienced skateboarding properly. Apart from like when I'd go into Northwich town and I'd see, because I'd be with my mum and dad at the market or whatever, and then everyone would stop because it'd just be this noise coming through town, and it'd be all the local skateboarders that were riding through town at the time. And I remember I'd just stand there because I didn't have anyone to skate with. Everyone else had started with the Turbo IIs and everything just kind of like drifted off into something else, but I was still sort of, I'd gone on to this kind of like Halfords Complete that had rubber wheels and a concave, and I was still like wanting to get there. But I'd see them all rush past, and every Saturday when I'd see them all rush past, I'd just get this little pang, and I'd just be like, just wanted to cry because I just wanted this crew.
Yeah.
And as they'd stream past, I'd just be like,
there. Imagine that game footage of Woody there.
Oh mate.
In the background as everyone's skating.
But I'd see them all the time, and I knew them all by sight, and I'd just be like, oh, they're all a little bit older.
Did you then start skating with those people eventually?
Well, that happened from so.
What was the early crew?
What was that? Sorry.
What was your early crew?
Well, so when I was just when I started high school, I was still skateboarding on my own in my back garden, and I was skating on like little bits of wood against flower beds and stuff, like brick flower beds and stuff like that. So I didn't have a very wide patio, hence why I probably like can be quite quick-footed on run-ups and stuff like that. But that's all I would do. But then I was still deep in it, looking at all the magazines and all that, but still didn't have a crew. Didn't have the opportunity. I was a young kid. And then first year at high school, I was in science. It was on activities week. You know, you can just go in your normal clothes and you do like all kind of like whatever. And this girl was like, "You're into skateboarding, aren't you?" I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Looks like they're building a skateboard ramp in Roker Park, like the local kind of big park in Northwich." And I was like, "No, they're not." She was like, "Yeah, they are." It's like, and she described it, and it was like the skeleton of a mini ramp. She described it perfectly with the she was like, got curved edges, got a metal bar. She's like, it's got these bits of wood going across like the frame, and I was like, it's a fucking ramp. It's a fucking ramp in my fuck. I was like,
how far away is that from your house at that point?
This is like from my house. It's like 2.5 miles.
Right.
I live in the outskirts of town, a little place called Lostock Grayland, but then like
And you'd skate that in seconds to go.
If there was a
but
ramp there,
from
you'd be
school, I mean, the hairs on my arms literally standing on end talking about it. But I came out of school and I fucking ran like Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
All the way
To see it.
It was like 2 miles from my school as well, but I just ran. I was like, still didn't believe it in my head, and I just ran down the road on the side of the train tracks and then to the park, and I didn't even have to get. I just saw it in the background with some people. I could hear it, some people on it, and I didn't even look at it properly. I just turned back round, fucking ran 2 miles in the other direction, picked up my skateboard, ran back. Honestly, I just didn't stop. Got to this ramp, and then who's there? But the crew that were just like whizzed past me in town, and I was just like, maybe about 4 years younger than them or something like that. But got talking to him straight away. Already could dropped in first time.
Are you on a Turbo II still?
No, I'm on my Andy Howell.
Oh, right.
So dropped in first time, was able to do rock fakies and little scratch grinds and stuff because I'm skating these boards in my back garden. And so I think a lot of the locals were just a lot of this crew were just like, fucking kid can already skate. So they kind of like took me in under the wing, and then met some other guys who are my age who were kind of similar story, like Phil Gowans, Nathan Kitchen, Saul Richards, and Ian Chesworth.
What was the spec of
Ross
that
Mill,
ramp?
Matt Collis, Andrew Chesworth. It was a freestyle ramp that the
4 foot high, 12 foot wide.
Yeah, that typical one that was like had the reds.
Yeah.
Solid, amazing ramps like birch ply.
Yeah, they were good ramps.
They were but 4 foot wide, 12 foot wide, with the red barriers on them. But it was but that ramp was one of the only ramps in practically in the Northwest. It was one of the first, because we're talking like 89 maybe. So there's none about. Like, you can't tell kids these days how there was just nothing.
There's skate parks
There were people used to travel for like hours to just get to a 4 foot high mini ramp.
You can't get it through to a kid and the kids that come here or that we meet where it's like the fact that you've got something skatable like every couple of miles.
They don't know they're born, do they?
It's fucking insane.
Of having that one facility in the area, there's that you met everybody.
Yeah,
everyone came through.
So I remember from the early days, like where this ramp was placed, it was on there was a viaduct next to it with a train line running across the top of it. It was the Manchester to Chester line, and we were kind of like smack bang in the middle. But obviously, people would just go past on this train all day, every day, and see this ramp. So word got around really fast, and not just skateboarders seeing it off the train, but people who knew people that were into skateboarding would go, "We've seen this ramp off the train," and so we'd get everyone coming through. And then we had all the Liverpool lot, the Runcorn lot, like old like Tim and like Runcorn Tim was we knew a lot. Tansy,
it is
Pete
mad.
Rogers, like, and then Big Woody and like not Wingy, that was like in Goshen days, but yes, like all the Warrington lot, like Mark Day and like Lee Ahmed, and so we met everybody at this ramp, but we were always there, so we met everybody. John Dalton was kind of like there a lot. He lived in the area. It was fucking like, that was my first.
He was good.
Viewing of someone that was just next level.
Did he ever ride for anyone?
At that point in time, they were like fucking Z roller boys.
Yeah.
They all had Z roller trucks.
Yeah, no way.
So all of them had these like really rattly trucks with the. If anyone doesn't know what a Z roller truck is, it just had the kind of the cylinder on the bottom of the truck that enabled you to grind on any curb, not grind, but just roll along.
Roll along.
I think it was
Didn't
it
they
Fez.
try and do a bit of a relaunch of it recently?
Yeah, so that truck, but like
We should try and get some.
Was it like Fez from Liverpool? Who was pro?
Yeah.
For Z. So they were all getting stuff from him and supporting him and
I'd love to try some of them out.
Right.
Wasn't Day One on them as well before?
I don't know, but like those guys were like, it's like they lived and died by these Z roller trucks, and it was like the only guys that you ever saw with them.
Yeah.
But
it was funny times back then because, like you say, like you had that ramp and there was not much else around.
No.
It was the same everywhere. It was like you knew people because there wasn't that many of you, and there wasn't that many parks, so it was like you'd radiate towards that one. And
but that would be everyone passed through there, even like all the BMXers, because we used to skate with the BMXers, and we used to travel with the BMX and go meet them places, and it was all because you know John Taylor, Mad John. It's like John Taylor.
John.
I think he was pro on Hoffman bikes. Legendary BMXer.
Was he on a podcast recently?
Maybe I think he was he Van's team manager for the bike side of things for a while? Or
I know Kate's was telling me
he's married. He's married to a really good friend of mine. I've not spoke to in years. Sorry, Emma. But yeah, Emma Reynolds, who used to work for Soltec.
We had a mini ramp in the town that I lived in. Now it's a refurbed kind of like one of those just dropped in skate parks where it's like pre-built. But the first run of this mini ramp was just wooden, and then because obviously Roller Snakes in Nottingham and Gons came over for that, he skated the one in my hometown as well before it got like knocked down and moved somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I can remember someone saying to me years ago, one of the older lot, Gons skated this.
Yeah.
The first ramp that was here, and I was like, who the fuck's that? Because I just didn't know anything. But now looking back at it, it's like, that's insane that he'd just go to random ramps like that and skate them.
Well, there was another one in St Helens. There you go, John Taylor. So he was lived in Tarpley, I think, which was just down the way in Chester. So obviously knew about this ramp because it's from the train line.
I always wondered how you pronounce that. I always thought it was
Tarpley. Yeah, but John, I mean, John was like, you know, a bit older than us, but like just unbelievable BMX and was already quite famous, I think. So, but you know, just a lovely guy, and we'd go, we'd skate with them all the time, see them everywhere. But even like Chris Hamer and Harry from Black Sheep. Yeah. Harry and Chris from the Sheep store, the original incarnation of Sheep. They'd be down there, so I met them in the early days down there. Met Splodge, who owns Note, down there. All the guys from Split Skates would be down there. Like just everyone from everywhere came to this 4 foot high, 12 foot wide mini ramp.
Mad, isn't it?
And the guy who started Bench as well, James, whatever his name is, he was down there with Harry and Chris, I think, in the early days. And he went on to start obviously Superdry, like later on, same guy. Yeah. I'm jumping around like motherfucker here, aren't I?
Not really.
Julian. So Julian was the owner of Cult Clothing, chain of stores called Cult Clothing, and he hooked up with.
Walks around like this.
That big cowboy hat on, smoking a cigar. But
sounds rad.
He hooked up with James after Bench had been sold from under James, I think, because I don't think he had rights to the name. And so whoever he got in partnership with was just like, well, I've got fucking rights to the name. So they moved on with it. And then Bench became massive.
Yeah, then it was massive for a while.
Fucking huge, yeah. But it started off as like a skate BMX thing, really.
Yeah. And
because I remember the James was there. He's like, oh, you want some T-shirts? And I was like, oh, man, maybe I'll get sponsored by Bench or something. Like, it never materialised. But then they started because it was all that crew. They were like really proactive. Like Harry, who that's the Black Sheep, started Defunct Clothing, and like at that time, I think fucking Tom Penny was riding for Defunct.
I think he had
a part on the video.
Photos been wearing the stuff.
Yeah. So he started that, and he got that quite big. Like Defunct.
Who, Tom Penny?
No, that guy. No, Defunct was like Harry had a factory and crew.
Yeah.
All the machines, sewing machines.
Oh, right.
Got a load of like kind of old dears who, you know, when the industry had closed down.
Yeah.
But they still had the unbelievable skills, the sewing skills and stuff. He just enlisted all them. I think his sister was doing the pattern cut and making proper like amazing clothing. Defunct.
So,
but then he had Defunct and James had Bench. So there was that. Them BMXs they were doing it back then, and the sheep store like in the early days.
Yeah.
Like, unbelievable, that place.
Hold on a second, we need to talk about sponsoring this episode of the Brain Train Show. Toby, take it away.
Today's sponsor is Slappy Trucks.
Slappy Trucks comes from the mind of Mike Sinclair and was created through the lockdown. He was messing around with his trucks and he thought, hold on, I might just have a way to make them a little bit better.
Slappy Trucks provide the best grind clearance and slappy angle to keep your kingpins from the dreaded snag on Smiths, Feebles, Hurricanes, Bennett and Barley grinds, and has been measured by Professor Paul Schmidt. Slappy Trucks have the quickest turn, the best grind clearance, less wheel bite, no braking time, and are 100% more fun. I'm currently riding the inverted Kingpin Hollow ones, and they're very nice, and I'm getting on great with them. They are sick.
Slappy Trucks also have an incredibly large team, and some of our favourites are Mike Fraser, Leonardo Finkus, Abe Bethel, the Cab Killer Ira, and Arissa True. They're
also sorting out Will Sayer, Ben Plum, Liddy Strachan, Twiggy, Manny Haddon. Where can people find out about Slappy Trucks, Forde?
They can find them at Slappy Trucks on Instagram or www.slappytrucks.com, or simply head to Roller Snakes and just search Slappy Trucks and see how many we have in stock. Toby?
Back to the show.
Back to the show right now.
Back to the show.
Back to the show.
Back to the show. We're back. We went for a lunch break.
Do you know what's that? It's surprisingly good coffee in Greg's.
Yeah.
I always really enjoy the coffee. I get some from some jazzy coffee places.
Real talk.
Greg's.
Greg's is surprisingly good
surprisingly
coffee.
Good. Yeah, but
I'm Garry Woodward.
Yeah.
And Greg's has got surprisingly good coffee.
But you go to some jazzy coffee places and sometimes coffee tastes like shit. And,
tastes bad.
Yeah, you go to Greg's
coffee,
and
your place.
Maybe I've just got really poor taste. I don't know.
When I came up to your place recently and Carl made me a coffee in that fancy machine you got.
Oh, yeah.
That's nice coffee, that.
Yeah, yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I actually went home and said
He's got about 10 of those machines, you know.
Has he?
Yeah, he just buys. He likes buying things, Carl.
Yeah.
Yeah. QVC guy.
I could do with one of those. Right. So we were talking about, what were we talking about? The mini ramp and the people radiating towards your.
Oh yeah. So the Northwich mini ramp. I mean, to be honest, like without that mini ramp, my life would have been a complete different track, because you know how long I would have managed to carry on skateboarding without a crew.
It's pretty soul destroying on your own, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I used to do it, but like just kind of like, you know, there's no one there to sort of like egg you on or like high five you.
I get bored quicker.
Did
you?
And
when you're young, it doesn't matter because you fall over, you don't know the consequences. When you're older, you don't like slamming on your own.
Yeah.
That's another fear. Like you absolutely write yourself off, and you're like,
Yeah, you need some like support, don't you? Especially because you could really fuck yourself up and not be able to get somewhere. So
with that ramp, were you pretty much there every day?
Yeah, like literally. I fucking moved there, like every spare moment, and I'd just be thinking about it, and I'd be like up early in the morning, going down there, jumping over the fence. But like with my little crew that I'd got, like, you know, I hung around with the older guys as well, like Ross Milne and Ches and Frol and all those guys. But I had a little crew.
There's a lot of nicknames for people up your way, aren't there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, but then there was my little crew, was like my proper main crew was like me, Phil Gowans, Nathan Kitchen, and Saul Richards, and Ian Chesworth, and like that, and Ross Milne, really, who we still see like a little bit now. But we were just there all the time, and you know, it was like we didn't have phones. You just had your home phone, so you just like we just met at the ramp the whole time, early on Saturday morning, and then we'd be there all day, just interspersing a bit of street skating in between, and you know, rain or shine, we'd be out, and if it was raining, we'd find like the most tiny undercover spots. Like there was a subway that run into Northwich town centre, and then when it was wet, it was still wet inside the subway.
But it wasn't being rained.
But there was a middle bit that was usually dry, but the middle bit was about this wide. But we'd still be in there waiting for the crowds to disperse, and then you'd get like 5 goes at something, and then the crowds would come back. So you'd still be out there skating all the time. But we'd go into Army and Navy and get these hand warmer things, and so we'd be fucking sat outside like in the dead of winter, like with these hand warmers, or we used to know there was this like little like an outlet at the back of this loading bay, and it had like a little cage around this heater. We'd all just be crowded around this heater, like warming your fucking hands up, and then you're gonna have a skate for a bit.
The thought of skating in winter now is just not a thing.
We were out like all the
handle
time,
it.
like just
those hand warmers,
never in.
I always have them in the camera bag.
Yeah,
because they're super handy.
Well, back in the day, they were like a case. It was like a hard case, and you used to have to light this little kind of flint thing or whatever, and like this little like burner, and you put that back in the case, and it'd just keep the case warm all day. But we used to do anything to be out. We'd never not be outside. It was
kids now. They're like,
and it was just raining all the fucking time, and you were just like, we'd get to the ramp, and it would be like you'd just, when it got to a point where there was no puddles on it, we'd all skate it, so that the draft would dry it out because we didn't know about the burning. In fact, if we got seen burning newspaper at the bottom of the ramp, we'd have had it taken away from us, I'm sure. Or
so you had quite a influential indoor park up your way, didn't you? The Goshen
ramp.
Was it a ramp, a mini ramp, or?
It was a mini ramp initially with the 2 vert extensions. I just touched vert, like 8 foot extensions, but that was like, just felt like massive, because especially when you're a kid, like you're this big. Yeah. But we, going back to the fact that there was no facilities, that was the nearest one, and that was up near Bury in Manchester. But we were too young to go there. Parents were busy and didn't really understand this skateboarding thing. They were just it's like yo-yoing, it's a fad, they'll grow out of it, whatever. But to us, it was like. So, so I turned out that I got a little job on the indoor market when I was about like 11 or 12 or something, just like carrying pots of paint out of a car, putting it on the table, and then just going home. But it was 6:30 in the morning. You have to be there. My older brother works on the market, so I'd just get a lift with him, and then I got my mate Phil a job on the same stall. So we'd just lift paint out, and we like just go skateboarding afterwards, and we're like, look, my mum thinks I'm with you, your mum thinks you're with me, and like we're just out, and it's 7 in the morning, and we're finished. So one day we were just like, let's go to Bury. Yeah. Let's go to find that ramp, and we literally got on the train at like 7:30, 7:15 in the morning from Northwich to Manchester, about an hour. Yeah. And you go through like sort of Altrincham, Knutsford, and Stockport, and then we just got out of this station, and we were like, right, let's find. So we found split skates. I'd already been to split skates at this point, so we went to split skates, and we're like, right, how'd you get there? And then the guys in the shop were like, right, so 135 to Bury. You have to look for a Renault garage. When you see the Renault garage, get off, and then skate down, go across the road, skate down the hill, and it's the leisure centre. So right, we did. So we tried to find like where to get this 135 bus, and you've got these kids who are just like not supposed to be in Manchester, just snuck there, and just running around trying to ask people where this bus is to get to Bury. And eventually, we worked it out, and you don't know, you got to go to this information point, and you're just like, oh, I don't know how to get to Bury. And then we got on the bus, and we were like, right, when they get to this Renault garage, can you tell us? He's like, yeah, I know the Renault garage. And then the bus out was through like Cheetham Hill and what's it called? It'll come back to me in a minute. It was like a big Jewish area, and so you got like all the Orthodox Jews in with the hats and the black overcoat. We'd never seen any of this before. We were just like so uncultured coming out of like Northwich. And then being in this like kind of city environment that we're not supposed to be there, and then going through all these different areas like Cheetham Hill and all the way through like to Bury, and just I'm going a bit too deep into this, aren't I?
No, it's good.
But it's because of the feeling, like when you like, and when you talk about these things, if you've not talked about them for a while, it's like what it conjures up is that first time skating down that hill. and seeing the leisure centre that has these ramps inside it, and you know they're in there, and you can't skate any faster. You're just going all the way, like, and then you walk through, and even down to like the smell of the masonite.
Yeah.
You know, you don't really get it anymore. Like indoor parks, but like there was just these 2 ramps, like a fucking great big vert ramp with like the coping that had just like cans of Coke stuffed in it. It was like that. It was that wide, the coping.
Yeah.
And then this great big mini ramp with the extensions, and like, yeah, just walking in there for the first time was just like, fuck.
Did you have to pay to skate it?
Yeah, it was like a couple of quid. And like sometimes you used to be able to sneak through because we're like only small, and just like duck down like where the window was, and the dude that was working in there was always just like on it. It was surprising that they dedicated such a big room to it in the early days, because there wasn't that many people using it. It got busy sometimes, but I guess there wasn't really that many skateboarders at that time.
I remember seeing photos of Wingy there.
Yeah, well,
Andy Scott.
Yeah, I mean, they were the locals.
Didn't he have his first kind of photos from there?
First time I saw a photo of Andy Scott was there, and he was doing like an ollie to tail with a tail that was about that big. I remember seeing it on his board, and it was a mad photo because it looked like his legs were kind of like, like the instep of his foot was on the, and you didn't know how stuff was done, and you was like, how the fuck's he doing that? Like, he's a little kid like me. Like, should I be doing that now? Should I be able to do that kind of shit? And then so we went there, and then we got to know like all Andy Scott and Tez. Like they would be like the rippers there, like guys. And both of them like amazing on vert, amazing on the mini ramp. Tez like super stylish, like skateboarder, and then Andy Scott was just like another level. But then we'd be there and we'd be skating with them all the time, and then we'd skate with the Liverpool lot there, like all like Cooey and like all crew with like Mackie and like Joel O'Connor and Cactus, and like all that lot would be there a lot. John Tansey, but then like you'd get people like Pete Dossett turning up, and Yocker Olsen, and like Rocker, and like Neil Dans, and showing my age and my era here, but like you were just like, fuck. Andy Williams, fuck, like,
what happened to him?
Died.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Fuck me, what a skateboarder! Like on vert back in the day, like he was doing like. I'm sure he like managed to do like sort of nose blunt slide, tail grab in, like, at the same time as like when Buster Holtman was doing it and stuff. And Now and Later. Was it Now and Later?
Yeah.
But yeah, like that was.
Where he doesn't actually slide the wheels.
No, yeah, I don't know, but I'm sure Andy was doing them at the time. But he used to just do it. He used to do everything on that ramp.
Yeah.
But yeah, seeing Andy Scott in the early days, that's why I always measure people who, when people say someone's like, oh, look at that kid, he's good, and I'm like. I think they're good or whatever, but I'm always like, yeah, but I saw Andy Scott at that age, and I'm like, that's how I measure everything about like someone's natural ability of like, and whether they're gonna be really make it in the future is like, you got that measure of people at that time like Geoff Rowley, Tom Penny, Andy Scott, like that level of Jedi mastery and just the ability to do whatever you put your mind to. Like seeing Andy in those early days, like I just wanted to be that good. I was just like, oh, it's like kind of not too far off my age, my size, and like I was just like, wow, like I'm really kind of like, not that I wanted to be the best or anything, but you always wanted to be like be able to do better stuff. It was total inspiration. Yeah, still to my day. Like, I mean. As far as like, everyone always talks about Tom Penny and stuff like that, I feel like Andy Scott's got that kind of like mysterious kind of
they're on another
talent
level
and the fact that he kind of, like Andy was up there with the fucking best, like still is, but like with the best vert skaters in the world. All those guys were like, if you ever talk to any of those vert guys, like got to meet some of them over the years, and you mentioned Andy Scott, and like, oh yeah, Andy Scott, what's he doing now? Like, it's just.
Yeah, he was incredible.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so that was them Goshen days were pretty special. I mean, I always wanted to be when I got into skateboarding. I was talking about wanting to be in the air and be jumping, and because that was what gave me a thrill. I wanted to be a vert skater. I should have been a vert skater.
So you say, don't you? You should.
But I had the ramp taken away from me because vert ramps are they're in such short supply, aren't they? And you've got to use them when you've got them, because sooner or later they're going to get taken away because nobody uses them.
Yeah.
So, but that there, I was like, oh, I've got a vert ramp, and it's only like 2 hours travelling from my house, even though I had to sneak there, like, you know, the whole time, and I had to be back on the market, like in the afternoon, like to do pack away. So it was literally 2 hours, get the train, travel across Manchester to the bus terminus, which isn't there anymore, where the Arndale is. Get the 135 to Bury, another half an hour, 3/4 an hour. Skate down the hill, get to the park, and then have 2 hours in there. And then we used to leave there and go to the curbs, you know, underneath the flyover, the real famous Manchester spot there. But after not many times of going to Goshen, Dennis Atherton, like, he was there a lot, and so he would, and I hold this dear to my heart, because when you're so young and you're in this kind of like far away place, and then someone sort of takes you under their wing, he'd see us leaving the leisure centre at whatever 2 PM, and then he'd see us at the curbs. And so then one day, after maybe the sort of 3 or 4 times of seeing him, he was like, "You going to the curbs?" And we were like, "Yeah." And he's like, "You just get a lift with me then." We were like, "What the fuck?" Because he was like fucking legend for us at the time. Like, he was
that Avi's brother?
Yeah, older brother. I did, like, his big dreadlocks.
Yeah, he was meant to have been really, really, really good.
So good. Like, you know,
there's not really much footage of him around. I'm sure Avi's got some of it, and I've seen it where he's doing like blunt slides on like walls and stuff.
The way, but the way he used to skate the curbs, he skated different than everybody else, because obviously got all the fucking cool guys down there, like Femi and Cy Robson and Steve Malloy and all that crew. And but he used to skate a little bit differently, a little bit more like old school for the time, but like, you know, like a nollie into like a lip slide, and then to 50-50, back to lip slide, and then like to 180 out, whatever. Whereas all the other guys were doing like sort of backside 180 nose grinds or nose slide crooks, and so but he was amazing. He was a little bit older than everyone.
It's
really,
interesting to hear a bit about Dennis, because obviously Avi kind of just like continued skating and smashed it.
No, really, it was really
interesting to hear about Dennis as well.
And Carl Kearney, like, because they're both like skated together at the time, so I was really like fond of them. And but Dennis was just like, jump in the car, I've got you, like, I'll help you, like, get there and skate the curbs. And we were like, oh, that you made our life so much easier. Like, thank you. So like, forever in my heart, like, I'll sort of hold Dennis Atherton was like kind of the guy who kind of like looked.
Was Avi skating around that time? Did you ever skate with Avi around that time?
So
I think he's like
Chris,
5 years younger than his brother.
Yeah, a little bit. Like, he was more like sort of street skating. We'd see him at Goshen like quite a lot. Now, we didn't really speak a lot, but we were like, you know, kind of like let on and stuff. But now it's like, yeah. So Dennis really helped us out then. I mean, it's not, oh my God, it probably happened about 10 times, but to me it feels like it happened like for a lifetime.
But it's stuff that sticks with you.
Yeah, it really does stick with you.
Skateboarding should be.
I don't, you know, still, like, but then like I remember one time like Dennis had said like, "Oh, you come skate with me and Carl, and we'll go to stay with Woz, who used to work in, like, Paul Warrington used to work in Split Skates." And so we went out on a little skate trip, and that, like, I'd never sort of left my crew really, and that was the first time I'd ever really kind of split up and gone skating with these other guys. And I was just like, oh, I've got footage of this session, like, because I had a video camera at the time.
Have you got it digital, or is it on a tape?
It's on like a high 8 tape or whatever.
If you can send it, because I can capture high 8.
So we went to Wolves.
I've got a.
I'll send you a bunch.
I can get a high 8 camera, and then I've got a digital chain to,
it'd be good to get
take it to an iMac and digital.
We didn't make a lot, but
it would be good to see
nice.
bits of Dennis as well. So like I said, it's been so.
But
Avi will usually give me a bunch of footage, and there's like one clip of Dennis in there somewhere.
I was so chuffed that they asked me to like come and skate with them, and like at that time, just before I went to skate with them as well, I was skating Goshen. I was due to go and meet them after skating Goshen. I snapped my board. I had this Neil Hendricks like New Deal board, and I snapped it. I was like, fuck! Like, the only way I can get a new one is if my dad comes and gets me one from Split Skates and then brings it.
Yeah.
And I was like, but then I have to tell him I'm here, because he doesn't know I'm traveling and all this stuff. And so I just thought, fuck, I really need to go skating with these guys. Like, So I phoned him, and bless him, he did it and didn't tell my mum. He just bought me a board from Split Skates, drove to Goshen, just give it to me, just shook his head at me and just like, just went. But I had this board, and then I went on this session with them. But incidentally, in that same session, we were around at Waz's house, and his fucking brother nearly murdered us. Like, it's a complete segue, but it just like popped into my mind then. I think I think he just got out of prison or something, and he just fucking came back and saw us all sleeping at his house. Went ballistic, got like a knife block, fucking pulling out these knives. It was throwing these knives at us in this house, and we were like hiding behind fucking sofas and stuff. Like, it was proper serious. Like, we were like, fucking hell, might die.
Good.
And I bet Dennis and Carl have never thought about that since. It'd be funny to remind them of that. Yeah, and then we just went skating the next day and forgot that we'd almost just been murdered the night before. Like, I just thought about that then, but nostalgia, eh? Yeah. But yeah, so that was so Goshen opened the doors for like me just skating in Manchester.
Yeah.
Skating the curbs afterwards.
It was always in the magazines as well, right?
It was the only place, and everyone went there. Like we've had like a private session there with the Plan B team.
Yeah.
Like fucking Danny Way, Mike Carroll, Rick Howard, Colin McKay. Did I just say Colin McKay?
No, it's a Danny Way.
Yeah, Danny Way, Colin McKay, Rick Howard, Mike Carroll.
Was Sheffield was on that one as well, wasn't
he? Maybe it was like they didn't skate. I can't remember, but like we saw them at Shrewsbury, and we went to a demo that was in the demo section of the Questionable video, and
on the blue mini ramp.
Yeah. So like we went there, and that was a fucking session and a half. Like, but we went there as kids, and we were like trying to, when you're trying to impress, because everyone's there, and obviously the Plan B team are coming. Like, right, Rowley was there. Like, we were all skating the mini ramp, and it was like looking at Geoff and just being like, oh, yeah, I can do some of the stuff Geoff can do. And like, everyone was doing like, it was all like ollie grabs and like frontside melons and frontside airs and just like melons to fakie, that kind of stuff. And then I remember like,
Sal Barbier was on that, wasn't he?
I didn't see him.
I'm sure he was.
I can't remember. I mean, fuck, I was like 11, 12, something like that.
90.
That was when the video came out. So the demo was in like 91, 90, 91. So obviously I has to take a bit of time before it gets to the video. But I stood on the platform with just next to Danny Way, and I was like, "Where are you going tomorrow?" You're trying to think of something to say to someone, and I was like, I need to talk to Danny Way. Yeah, and I was like, don't say something stupid.
Where are you going tomorrow?
Yeah, so I just went, where are you going tomorrow? And he was like, oh, hey dude, like, yeah, we're going to some like vert ramp, like up north somewhere. And I was like, fucking Goshen.
Yeah.
There's no other vert ramp. It's got to be that. So like, I just went over to my mate. I was like, I'm fucking going to Goshen tomorrow. And so we didn't want to tell everyone because they didn't get mobbed. And we was like, So we just, that next day we went to Goshen again, just snuck up there again.
Waited.
Yeah, and they fucking turned up. And then we just had this private session with all those guys, like just like
I don't remember seeing footage of that. Like, did they?
Nah, never seen footage of like them at Bury, but they didn't really. I don't think they really filmed. One thing that did get me though is that they were like doing like kind of ollie grabs and stuff like that, like taking the piss out of them. And I was like, they're my fucking moves, man. Like, you're fucking doing these moves and like just like dorking around. And,
did they skate the vert ramp?
Yeah.
What was going down?
They were just skating it and like just like I remember Danny Way just trying to like spin a few fives and stuff. It was almost like they didn't want to like commit to anything, and like they were just doing airs and whatnot. But we were just there, just like
losing your shit.
Yeah, and I think he said to me like, "Oh, you came," like, or something like that.
And you were like,
yeah. But we were just stood there instead, just like on the platforms going.
I can imagine that would have been a bit of a mind blower.
Oh mate, like because at the time, like like my video was outside of Speed Freaks. I don't know if I said that earlier. Speed Freaks, my first video. Eric Dresden was the first person I ever properly saw skateboarding. But Questionable was the video. Like I had like Next Generation like as the video until like a day later when I'd got Plan B Questionable, and it just almost kicked Next Generation to the side with like as far as this is now, that was then, sort of thing. Even though
Questionable-
Next Generation was sick,
Yeah.
like it was still loads of ramps, loads of skate parks, you know, loads of fucking finger flips and like Chad
Questionable was
Vox.
something else, isn't it?
Questionable was like it just leapt into the future.
I remember. I think we spoke about it on this before. but
Crazy.
I know exactly where you're going to go with it.
Sorry if this is boring and
No,
people
no,
talk
not
about
at all.
questionable, but my word, that was
It-
that was as pivotal as shapes changing in skateboards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going from old school to popsicle was or to eggs or whatever. That video was the mark of the
when I
mood.
watched it, it blew my mind so much that I couldn't sleep the following night.
Yeah.
I was just like, all that shit that was going on was like, oh my god.
Mate.
I only borrowed it for like a day, so I was like watched it.
Just the music and everything, the music, clothes. I'm almost like, why the fuck are you listening to Cat Stevens and Louis Armstrong like on loop as a fucking 11-year-old, like learning all the words? I'm like, you're fucking right. Well, see this video, like trying to get my mum to watch the video. She's
Yeah.
like, fucking whatever.
yeah,
It's
it's insane.
in
There's not
Rodney
really
Mullen's
been any
section,
videos
wasn't
that have had that effect.
yeah, but Danny Way for me, like at that time, because I liked transition
Yeah.
and flying, whatever. Like Danny Way and Colin McKay for me were like who I could associate with because they skated
Yeah.
everything, and like, you know, for that time to have a vert section and a street section of that level.
Colin McKay's got like a 3-song part, hasn't he? With
Yeah.
Street,
Iron
it's all
Maiden.
Switch as well. Before
Was
it
Iron
was
Maiden
even-
in that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it?
Or was that in?
I think so.
Virtual
Can you Google
reality.
that? Plan B questionable soundtrack.
But that backside, two things I always think. Whenever I see someone, you know, whenever I see someone do like a trick, and then after the trick, they either fucking push like fuck and push out the frame, or they do a 360 flip. I always just think Pat Duffy because he does that handrail, and then he does does he do a slappy?
Frontside slappy.
Frontside slappy 50-50 and then
Flip.
does a 360 flip, and I'm just like,
Yeah, really steep 50-50.
how the fuck?
Aces High was the song.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Colin McKay,
Just like-
second song in the part.
yeah.
Can you find it on
really.
YouTube? Let's watch Colin McKay's bit.
No, we're not sitting watching
Oh,
it.
it's so good.
Well,
though.
People might never have seen that. They can sit like watch 3-4 minutes.
Watch us.
But
watching
that is it the San Diego Sports Center with the double set?
Yeah.
There was like
With Danny Way 360s it.
Oh yeah, no, he 360 flips after doing the 360 flip.
Back frees
At
it.
the back free down the
Does a
double,
tray flip.
Yeah.
and then does a tray flip.
1,000 miles an
It's
hour.
a fucking vert skater.
28 mil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that-
it was,
that
that was a
video
good time
was-
in skating. It was,
but like Alfonso Rawls section in Next Generation,
Yeah.
that was always a favourite.
yeah.
And
good times.
there's still fucking good video on Next Generation. Pretty good for me because I liked copy
Costin's
like
got a
learning
lot
the mini
of
ramp
part in there,
moves
isn't he?
out of it. and
Ocean
stuff,
House
yeah.
part.
Ocean House part with the Doors soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I might have to
Chad
just rewatch that video later. and
Chad
just
Vox.
geek out.
so good.
South flip. pivot.
And you just watch these over and over again because you only had the one or two videos.
Yeah.
So you
until
didn't have the
rent them
internet
out.
then?
Didn't have internet, no.
No,
no.
just had one
That
VHS
is-
and that was it.
That's
Or
one of my
phones.
favourite ramp skaters is Chad Vott.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's so
Fucking south flips to like Mayday and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Like
Always
really
cheated
fast.
them a little bit though.
Like the Maydays.
Yeah, he drops
Yeah,
down.
he drops
slows
down
it.
the front truck first before he hits the back.
Did he?
So it's not to Mayday to fake. It's kind of like
Just
he
all your
comes
wheels
up,
back in.
Hang on, isn't
he's
it?
like-
It's only a Mayday when you grind it, right?
It'd be like a pivot fakey.
So it's a south flip pivot fake.
Yeah.
Maydays when you grind
This
it.
was at a time when people were
But still,
getting
it's a-
too fussy on naming tricks, I think, and they were
But
just
still,
like,
it's a fucking south flip to pivot fakey. Like who else
Yeah.
is doing them?
no.
And he does frontside varial.
Kind of scared a bit like Rocker or something, didn't they? Like,
Yeah.
maybe.
He did those over spines as well.
Yeah.
Like fucking shoved tail smacks and stuff. Incredible.
Let's move on a bit. So when did you what was your first sponsors and how did you sort of go from being mini Woody looking up to the
To
bigger
big
guys
Woody.
to big,
Big Woody.
Not the big Woody.
Not the big Woody.
Big
It was al-
Woody.
I was always Little Woody and he was always Big Woody.
Yeah.
Well,
Big up, Big Woody.
yeah, big up big Woody.
Yeah,
What was your first hookups and
So a lot of people started to give up skateboarding in Northwich, like kind of as we sort of hit college and stuff, and
yeah.
getting into weed and just kind of like, don't know. I think it's typical. Everyone goes through it, don't they? Get
Yeah,
into
everyone has this
girlfriends and weed and whatever. Never really for me like the weed side of things. That never really kind of did it for me.
You were
But
big on
still,
it, weren't
but I
you?
still used to knock around with everyone. I still used to smoke it, but it's never really for me. But I was always still wanted to skate, and but
Yeah.
everyone else was kind of like moving away from skateboarding. I was like, fuck, this is like painful. Like I've got no one to skate with, and everyone that I did skate with is kind of more keen on doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So for a period, like a couple of guys started skating again, like Ross Milne and Matt Nancolis and Andrew Cheswith. And we used to, like, just that last year before I moved to university in Manchester, we skated together. And then moved to Manchester, sort of knew a few people from a distance, but didn't really skate because I was just into, like, I just knew at uni, and just it was all kind of like just into partying, and like met a girl just as I moved up there, spending a lot of time with her, this girl Rue, and she could see that I missed skateboarding, and then because I just talk about it all the time, she's like, what the fuck, like, so she went into Exit, because that was a skate shop at the time, the one that she would have known about anyway, and then just got me this board for my birthday, for my 19th birthday. And then just as she bought me that board, Stockport Bones opened. And it was just like that same feeling as when I had that mini ramp appear in Northwich with this new skate park appeared, only a bus ride away, because I was living in Burnage at the time. And it was more on the Stockport side, so I could get I think it was a 92 bus to Stockport, and then that just became my local. And it was fucking so sick. Do you remember that part?
I think I only went there once or twice. It had the bowl.
It was the bowl. So Dave Arnold, Tim Stamp, those guys built that bowl. And I remember seeing the skeleton of it, because they built the upstairs bit first. And that was the first time I think anyone had shaped the beams, you know, the cross beams, whatever you call them, the timbers. And I think that they shaped the timbers so it was like perfect. Yeah. All the way around it was, and seeing the skeleton of that thing was just like, whoa. I was like, fuck, this is on my doorstep. So I practically lived at that skate park. Like, the owners were really kind enough to, like, let me in for free, and they even gave me money when I, like, went to comps and stuff like that. They were really not. They didn't skate. They were just like two older dudes who just opened the skate park. And there was an opening night for the bowl, and Frank Sidebottom, Dave Arnold had got, you know, it was Dave Arnold made the documentary on the Frank Sidebottom, was it?
I don't know.
I feel like he made a documentary on Frank Sidebottom. But anyway, so Frank Sidebottom, he'd organised for him to come and do the opening.
You turned up in Big Ed?
Yeah, with little Frank in a fucking suitcase. And, like,
have you seen...
sang all these songs, and, like, the whole skate park was fucking singing these songs with Frank Sidebottom. He fell into the bowl. And, like, I remember, like, helping him out the bowl.
And he's fucking
stank a BO, man. Like, he really stank.
There's like a random film out as well based around him, isn't there? Called Frank, about a guy that plays music, and he's in the same outfit with the big head.
Right.
But what a random one.
Yeah, it was random, but...
Well, and he, like, fell in the bowl, and then his head fell off, and...
No, never saw what was under the head. Yeah, there he is.
But it's so weird that there's like a film based on his character, but he's not following his timeline. Because he was like a presenter as well, wasn't he? Like,
yeah, he did all sorts at that time. He was always on, like, sort of Granada TV or something like that.
Like how random TV was then to have that
from
character.
Timperley, near where I live now,
Yeah.
So, yeah, really random, but that was the 80s for you, wasn't it? Had a guy with his hand stuck up a bird's arse as a presenter for the most part of the 80s, didn't you? But... So
the skate park opened, you started getting back into
so yeah, and then they had that opening night.
Big up Rue buying that skateboard.
Yeah, nice one, Rue. Yeah, great girl.
What board was it?
I think I can't remember. I got the graphic in my head, but it worked.
Was it Popsicle at that time?
Yeah,
it would have been. Yeah,
it's just
like 7.5.
Everything was about the same shape.
Yeah.
But so I started skating again, and I started like skating street with like Keith Miller and Dan Reese and Leo Sharp as well, because Leo lived there.
Big up, Leo.
Yeah,
big up, Leo.
Massive big up. We were like, you know, those guys are still some of my best friends. I don't really see them that often these days because we're all over the place. But Matt Wollstonecroft, and that was my little crew. But then they were the guys I skated street with. But then I used to go to Stockport to skate transition with whoever was there really. But I just used to skate on my own sometimes, whatever. But yeah, so that event where Frank played at was all the A4 lot were there.
Yeah.
I didn't know who A4 was or anything.
You know, Grove's got one of his heads in
Really?
his house. Yeah.
That's like pretty fucking
When I went
good,
round,
that,
he's
isn't it?
just massive. Yeah. Don't know how.
Save that when Grove comes up.
Like maybe.
He gets to be mates with most Manchester legends, don't he, though, Ben Grove? So he's
Maybe
probably
Grove.
mates with Frank Sidebottom at some point.
Maybe Grove connects her if it's like one of his original ones, because he probably had a lot of them.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah,
really good to have a Frank Sidebottom head.
Yeah.
So A4 were there at the.
So it was like
So A4 was the.
A4 was the
distributor
distributor for Soul Technology and like some snowboard brands, like Session Snowboard brand and a couple of other things, but mainly like they'd just taken on, not long since taken on like Etnies, America, and I'd obviously been buying some of those shoes at that point, and no one said anything. In fact, before that there was sorry to jump around. I got hooked up on West Beach through Tim Stamp, knew Fred Royal. You might have met Fred.
Can't remember.
Works with like Gramici and Wisdom and Effort. That lot that we share our office with in Manchester. But yeah, so I met Fred and then went to got sponsored from West Beach through Tim Stamp. That was my first hookup. Just a bit of clothing here and there. It's not really
Big checks.
Not really a specific clothing skateboard company. It's more snowboarding, but you know, it was. I remember like getting the t-shirts for the first time. I was like, "Fuck, I fucking done it! Made it. Fucking sponsored."
On the right road.
Yeah, but then after that, it was like after that do with Frank Sidebottom, Dossett was working for A4. He'd put my name forward because we'd skate sometimes in Warrington. There's a big park turned up in like a metal outdoor park in Warrington, and he lived in Warrington at the time. So I think he was just like, oh yeah, this kid kind of like, I've seen him skate, and then so they got in touch and started flowing me Etnies, the low cut at the time, like the original low cut, and then I just got in. I could see what was like. I was in Manchester studying. I always wanted to get into the industry side, and that's why, because I went to study clothing design when I first went to Manchester to go to university. Did a BTEC in clothing design. Then went to do
Clothing design and fashion.
It was called fashion design. I don't like saying fashion design because it sounds like kind of like a bit like flamboyant or whatever. But but yeah, clothing design straight up, just yeah. I was just, because I was always making my own clothes. Like, you know, when pants were really baggy, I'd sew my own clothes and like learn how to make trousers, and used to make some ridiculous size trousers for the time, like the Tom Penny kind of like size.
Maybe you should bring it back.
Yeah.
Woody Garms.
Woody's trousers.
Yeah. But so I'm fucking rabbiting on like a motherfucker.
So
here, aren't I?
what did we get? So you started getting stuff from
so I started
A4
getting
Etnies,
so I started getting stuff from A4, and
which was up that neck of Warrington, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I wanted to work with them, basically.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, okay, I'm gonna
Did you
take
annoy
this
them until they
contact
said
and
yes?
roll with it. No, I just kind of started hanging around. I speak to him on the phone,
Yeah.
and then Darren Robinson was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, do you want to come work in the warehouse?" So I'd get the train to Chapel on the Frith, which was like really far out, but that's where Darren would be coming from. And then I'd get a lift in with him and go working in the warehouse.
That's near Glossop, isn't it?
Yeah. So I got working in the warehouse, and then things just kind of rolled from there. Really, I got onto like they started flowing me properly. Started working with them a lot more. I was still at uni at the time. I blagged a year's placement. Like I was just working there and going out skateboarding, going on trips and stuff. But like they thought I was on like a placement with like a proper clothing company.
Yeah.
But I wasn't. I was just like going out skateboarding on trips and stuff. But so that was the start really with A4, and they were the first guys to start really sending people abroad on trips. And we went to Gliss Expo. My first trip went away with them. I think I'd got like, because Dossett with the Flip connection, he was always kind of like pushing
Because
for
you on Flip
that.
at some point? You had a cover of Sidewalk riding.
Yeah, I was. I was on Flow, so I was on. Like Dossett had conned me into go into Stockport one night.
Yeah.
And he was like, I should come to Stockport. And I was like, I don't really feel like it. And he's like, no, come to Stockport. I was like, oh. I'm not. He's like, come to Stockport. So I was like, okay. So I went to Stockport, and then I was skating around, and then this guy walks in. And I knew it was straight away because it was watching Spirit the Blitz, and obviously knowing it was Jeremy Fox from Flip. So I was watching, so I was skating and I just pretended to not know, and then just started really, and I was like, this is why he wanted me to come, because he'd always sort of mentioned it. So I started really trying to go for it.
Frontside ollie, late shove it?
Yeah, it's whatever I could throw out at the time, but probably, to be fair, it probably wasn't what Jeremy was looking for at all, but like, at that time, I guess I was kind of like, I'd got a bit of coverage and tried to jump down a few things, and maybe making a little bit of noise early on. Mm-hmm. Not that much talent, but I could throw myself down something like. Yeah. So Jeremy was just like, oh, you know, I probably wasn't asked at all, but like, he just told me to go to Slam and pick up a board, and it was the PlayStation comp the next day. Right. So I went to Slam. Seth Curtis gave me a rolly board, like
big up Seth Curtis.
Yeah, and he handed it to me. He's like, "Are you on the Flip?" I was like, "I don't know." And he was like, "Well, just Jeremy Fox has like said to give you this board for the comp." So like, and he gave me like I'd not gone on the train that night to go to London because I'd gone to Stockport. And that was the other thing. Dossett was like, "Just fucking come to Stockport." And so Jeremy had given me some money to go to make up for the money that I'd lost to get me down to London. And then like nice. I won that comp there, and then I started getting flowed from Flip, and then they probably didn't really know what I was up to, like really. I guess that was
when they were out in America.
Yeah, it was a bit, maybe like it was kind of like, and then so I remember like Deacon phoning me, and been on the phone. I was like, fuck, on the phone at Deacon, and it's like he's asking me what boards I want, what wheels I ride, and I was just like always doubting myself. And then, I was just on flow with them from China, just getting a lot of products. And I went out there into the States and stuff and skated there, but I just never had any confidence in myself. And I didn't really feel like skating with like Rowley and
I guess that's
and Arto at the time. Like, Arto was out there. I was just skating like some fucking rails with them and thinking, fuck, like, I'm well out of my league here. Like, they've got the wrong guy. and I just kind of like... At that point, I was like, I can't fucking do this. Like, I was, and whether I could or not, I don't know. Like, at the time, Jeremy was like, yeah, you stay out here, you can, like, maybe give you some boards or something. Yeah. So we can't, because at that time, no one would get any money. And it's like, you just have to fend for yourself and maybe get some boards and see how it goes and skate with these guys. And I was like, he don't want me. Yeah. Like, he's just trying to, like, just... But maybe I don't know. That's how I took it, and I looked at myself and I was just like, I haven't got what it takes. Like, you know, it was skating this rail with Geoff, and it was just knocking everything out. Like, first time, like all the craziest moves that you wouldn't even see people doing in comp runs and stuff. And he was wearing a pair of like Vans slip-ons. Well, not Vans slip-ons, like some Eras or something with a hole in the side. And that was the first we've ever really sort of seen anyone like doing that kind of shit in like some plimsolls. And I was there in like a pair of S fucking schemes or something. Yeah. I was just like, oh, like, I don't know. I just felt like, I ain't got this. And I was always injured as well. And I just thought,
you've always had wrist troubles,
I'd fucking kill myself. If I came out here and tried to be a professional skateboarder, I'd last 10 minutes. I'd just kill myself. Just because the way I'd throw myself at stuff without like really kind of thinking about it, you know. Like
you've always had a wrist guard, like for a long time. Like, what was the issue with the wrist?
So that was when we were filming Hating Life with Ches.
Which happens to be right just behind you if you didn't know, if you want to grab it down.
There you go.
Hating Life.
Yeah, which was one of the first video projects we did. But that was A4 doing that. So and I went out one night to Sheffield. I think it was Ponds Forge?
Yeah, Ponds Forge rail.
Yeah, the one where the tram lines are.
Yeah, it's a pretty iconic rail now.
Yeah, and it was night time, and I skated it before and done some stuff on there. And
it's a pretty tall, short rail.
Yeah,
as well.
But it was just dark. It was dark, and it was just me and Chaz. And I was just fucked. I couldn't be bothered. Like, you know, just like with that video, we only had like a certain amount of time with Ches to just do a little bit here, a little bit there. It wasn't like we were filming it for like 2 years and spending every day filming. It was like whenever Ches got the chance to come over, or he went over to Sheffield, and then just did like was trying a frontside board to fakie on the rail, and just fucking stuck, and then went off backwards, and then landed, knew I'd just broke something straight away, but it turned out to just, I'd say just, but it was the scaphoid bone.
Yeah.
The one of the worst fucking bones you can break as far as like healing goes. Because I think if you break it, a lot of the time it cuts off the blood supply to that bone, depending on where the break is. So you get no kind of oxygenated blood to that area. And that was with me for like five years. Like it was just always probably the same injury.
Yeah.
But I was always back in the hospital, back in a cast, and then always super paranoid about it. But I was a fool to myself, because I'd be working in the warehouse at A4, just like lugging boxes around in my cast, still out skating in it, falling on it, sawing it off,
Cutting the cast off like Simon Agar.
So yeah, so there was the wrist and the back, and yeah, I'd like a funny fucking story about that actually, about when I ended up in Sheffield Hospital with this wrist break. I mean, yeah, do a 360. So everyone used to always say to me, Ollie Todd used to.
What was the story about hospital in Sheffield? What were you going to say?
So I broke my wrist. I don't know what we were talking about before. I mean, look at this. It's like so long ago and so whatever, really.
It's another lifetime ago.
When you think about it, like compared to what's done now on skateboards, this just seems so archaic.
Yeah, but this was
like,
then.
Just a bit like...
Like, shove it.
Yeah, like shove, that's what we want to
Woody
see.
special move.
The flip the board there.
Look at those shoes as well.
Yeah, massive, but...
Tell us about the hospital thing. What were you
Yeah,
going to say?
that's just be boring for people. So I broke my wrist. Ended up in Sheffield General, or whatever it is.
Yeah, Sheffield General Hospital.
And then I'd fallen on, like, it's a big slam. I'd fallen on my back and my arm, and then just in the waiting room after I'd got my X-rays done, and then this lady calls me to the treatment rooms at the back, and then she's like, "Can you just pull down your pants and lie down on the table?" I was like, "What? Why?" And she was like, "Oh, we need to do like a back passage inspection because you fell on your back." She stuck a finger up my ass, and I broke my wrist. I was just like quivering on this table, like this.
Hang on. So, did she know you broke?
She's like, "Oh, you're falling on your back as well, so we need to check that all your nerves are intact." I fucking swear that it was just some woman from the waiting room who'd just gone around the back and put on a nurse's outfit and just like kind of like
Fingered you.
yeah.
And was it all okay in there?
Oh, she just went, "Oh, okay. If you can you feel that?" I was like, "Yeah." and then that was it. Then she just walked off and I went back out to Ches. He was like, "What's that about?" She's like, "She just stuck a finger up my ass." I was like, "What the fuck did you do that for? You broke your wrist." I was like, I don't know. To this day, I still don't know whether I never went and asked. I was like, "Was that nurse supposed?" It's probably just someone.
That's strange, isn't it?
Some opportunist who just wanted to.
What time
Finger
to
a
be
boy's
alive?
bum.
Time to be alive.
You know.
Yeah.
What do you want to go on to next? Should we talk a bit about leisure? Since we're talking about
Yeah, filming for the leisure video.
This is random as fuck, isn't it? I can feel it's going random as fuck already.
No, it's good. It's good. No, keep going.
It's just such a high coming from fingering arseholes.
We'll go back to industry stuff because that's almost kind of like a completely separate thing. But let's just talk about. So you filmed Hating Life with Ches. That's when you were with A4, and then you did Leisure with Stu Bentley, right? You filmed that part. What year were we talking about? Was that 2000s, early 2000s?
Yeah.
2004?
I think it came out in like 2003, 2004 or something.
Isn't Stu Bentley like big time film guy now?
Yeah, he's done extremely well. Extremely proud of Stu. He's
he was a good filmer back in the day.
Yeah, but he's just got like the personality to go with it. Like, so, like There was just a lot of bald people on there, then, but one of them was supposed to.
I
Yeah,
don't think
he's-
I ever met him, but
But yeah, talk us through the leisure video. Like
So-
independent release, was it for for a crew? Was it like
it's
a crew
just
thing?
it was just a scene video.
Yeah. What around Manchester? Manchester
Yeah.
at the time.
So it was me, Dan Reese, Keith Miller, Joe Gavin,
Joe Gavin's been fucking
yes.
about
Ben Perry.
forever.
Yeah.
He's been around forever, Joe
Oh,
Gavin.
Joe. I mean, Joe's just like the linchpin of Manchester skateboarding, certainly. But
Yeah.
like, even UK skateboarding is such a dude.
I think someone said to me it's
Well,
got to be.
Manchester skate scene's like, it's a lot of how it is now is down to like just Joe and
Yeah.
his inclusivity of everybody and his like kind of motivation for everybody
Yeah.
and just being such a like kind of a good mentor to a lot of people, I think. And
Asked him-
and still fucking
Yeah.
ridiculously good on
so
skateboard.
good skateboarding.
Asked him how video parts he thought he had, and he said 15, but I counted more.
Yeah.
Like, and then someone, I
So
can't remember
many.
who said it to me, or said it as if it was on a show, but it's got to be tied between him and Frank Stevens for the most video
Okay.
parts from any UK skateboarder.
Yeah. Fuck. I mean, if someone had asked me that question, which UK skateboarders had the most video parts, I'd probably have said Joe, without sort of thinking about it, I'd probably said Joe Gavin.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's such a hard worker.
He's still
He
doing it.
just loves it, and he loves for everyone else to get their
Yeah.
video parts. And
But that's his thing, is like he'll bring out video parts, but he'll also film the full video.
yeah,
And that's so much work.
but then get everybody else amps to kind of like come out and do it. And
Yeah.
he's got so many areas of Manchester skateboarding that he kind of works in and helps. But he's
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's-
legendary
and
status.
he's been around. Like when I first moved to Manchester, he was just a little kid, and we were going out skateboarding. He was already amazing, and
Yeah.
so yeah,
He's another one we get
So
asked to get on here a lot, isn't he?
Yeah, but getting him to sit down and talk, it's like,
it's more bit more man of mystery, Joe. I think.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's not
for
going
a
to
good-
talk, and
yeah,
that's
that's good.
that's completely fine.
So the process of filming leisure, can you remember much about that?
It was just going out just as mates all the time, just like
Yeah.
with the crew, with Stu, and it was never really like a serious thing. It was like we just sort of did it on the sidelines, and it just became more of a thing.
Because that's a fucking good video as well.
Yeah, it was weird because it came out on the cusp of like VHS
Yeah.
To
to
DVD.
DVD, and so it kind of, it was being distributed by A4 at the time, and
Because it came out on video, didn't it? I don't know if it had a
Yeah.
DVD release. I can't remember.
no, it didn't. It just came out on VHS, but then that was kind of what harmed its kind of sales, really, because everything
Yeah.
just changed to DVD. And I remember David from Native just being like, "Still got all these fucking leisure VHSs here. Can't do anything with them." It's like,
Wonder if they've still got some sat in a box somewhere.
probably.
That was kind of quick how that changed, wasn't it? I remember when we
Yeah.
were filming Escape from Boredom, and it was like it was going to be a VHS, and then pretty soon into filming, it was like it's going to have to be DVD.
Yeah.
And I had to learn how to master a DVD and do all the menus and all that shit.
The Blair Witch Project was the first major film to be released on DVD.
Really?
That's it.
Yep.
That's some deep knowledge.
That is some deep fucking knowledge.
That's right up your street, but yeah.
Oh, I love it, yeah.
Creeping
Oh.
around in the woods.
Witchy tit bitch
Witchy tit bitch.
wandering around in the woods and being all creepy. So yeah, that was just like a crew scene
Yeah,
video.
just a crew
then, innit?
video. Like, I mean, I got another like, I just got back from I think it was a clown trip to
Were you on Clown?
yeah.
I didn't know
Later
that.
on, but it was to where was it now? Sorrento, Italy. Fucking not like
I don't know.
like nowhere,
Just
just
random
outside of. It was that that handrail that Chris Oliver had on the cover, the huge handrail.
Can't remember it.
Really famous sidewalk cover. Should know that.
Should.
The skate nerd that you are, but it was that trip, and I just got back from that, and the weather had been pretty shitty at that, like the whole trip, and so we spent most of our time just smoking and drinking, and it was a real grueling week of was with Horsley and
God.
Ben Powell. We spent most of our time just drinking. Went on a little trip to like Pompeii and stuff like that. But anyway, got back from that trip, And Stu immediately had been on the phone and he was like, "Oh, it just needs a few more things. I was like, "I don't want to skateboard now. I'm fucked. I've been away all week and I've just been hungover and feeling like shit." And so he managed to coerce me into going out skating, and I went to Stockport Bones to warm up. And I used to have like the sort of way everyone does disasters now, and they just like flick back in straight away, like the way Chris Russell does them. Like everybody does them now, Jimmy Wilkins, whoever. I used to have that, like, I used to love doing it.
Yeah.
And I tried to do one at Stockport on the mini ramp, and for some reason I just hung up straight to the flat, and then I knew something had gone wrong, and then I just kind of went to peel myself up with the flat bottom. My arm was just like not going to do anything, so I managed to get myself set up, and my collarbone was just completely snapped, and just sat on the flat bottom of the Stockport mini ramp, just smoking cigs till the ambulance got there. But that put the end to that, and I didn't really get a lot of the stuff I wanted to put into that video in there because I just fucked myself again. And at this point, I was just like, I'm fed up of being the guy who's always fucked.
Talking about being fucked, we started talking about it, but let's circle back to the Daewoo advert.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
We started talking about that. You've told me the story before, and it's like it's funny in hindsight.
It's funny in hindsight, but like,
give us the background of what that was for.
So around that time, you were like, you'd get bits of money from doing like anything you could.
Was that people would go to A4 to like, we need some skateboarders for this?
For that, yeah, a lot of the time that sort of stuff would happen, but then for that particular one, they were doing like some audition. I think it was maybe the guys at A4 that sort of probably alerted me to it. Like Matt Lowbridge, who was the team manager at the time, was probably just like, do this. But there was an audition down at PlayStation for it, and I remember it being like, there was a bunch of us down there. There's like Rodney Clark, myself. I can't remember who else was there. Like, kind of
Chris Oliver. I'm just trying to think who would have been around at that time.
I can't remember, but there was a load of us who just
Skip maybe.
No. They wanted handrail dudes, I guess at the time. I was maybe sort of classed as a handrail dude or whatever. Not that I really did that much on handrails, but I think if you did one handrail, you're like a fucking handrail.
You're the handrail guy.
Yeah.
Done one handrail.
Yeah, so we're all
to do the handrail.
There was this big TV crew that was like kind of getting us to do like just skate around, do board slides down like the big, small, like the long rail down the big bank at PlayStation, and that was it. And then they were like, okay, we'll let you know. And then a couple of weeks later, maybe about 8 weeks later, I got a phone call saying that that I'd got the part, could I do it? And they were like, explain the obstacle to me. And it was like, they're like, yeah, it's like 20 stair.
Fucking hell.
It's going to be like a fucking post-apocalyptic war zone. Kind of like scene.
So this was for the ad for
Daewoo.
And
they were like, can you do it? And I was like, yeah. I was like, never skated a handrail like that big, and never made one that big anyway. I was just like, yeah, it's the money, I'll do it.
How much were they offering for it?
It's like not even that much. It was like £1,000.
Yeah.
But at that time, I was like, got council tax to pay, I got my rent to pay. It was like,
So Sean Goff was on it.
Sean Goff, Ali Carnes,
Dave Allen,
Jocker Olsen. Did I say Ali?
Yeah. Pete, was Pete on that?
I don't think so. But
yeah,
so that was the handrail. So they were like, okay, do this. So I got the pop up. I had my cast on at the time from that first break.
Yeah.
From the Ponds Forge rail.
Finger up the bum incident.
Yeah, finger up the bum incident. And then
what a good day.
So I was like, oh, I've got a cast on at the minute. She's like, oh, you won't be able to do it then. So I just fucking sawed it off. So I was like, I need this money. So I still had a broken wrist, but I just sawed the cast off. And then went down to London. It was in Docklands, and they had literally made. We stayed in a hotel for the night. It was all very nice. We got all like treated like rock stars for the night and whatnot. But then in the morning they were like, "Oh, you're up first. You're gonna be there really early."
How early?
Because you're the handrail street guy. Oh, they had me up at like sort of 5:30 in the morning. And I was
5:30 roll calls for 20 stair handrails.
Dragged to set for about 6 o'clock, and then straight into makeup.
What makeup did they put on you?
So I had like barcode tattoos on my face. A fucking backless silver Parada vest.
Yeah.
Really quite an expensive, lovely,
Yeah.
futuristic Parada.
Why
vest.
barcodes on the face though, Woody?
It's because fucking that's what happens in the future, isn't it? You get like a barcode on your
okay.
face so they can scan you and tell you this is their version of like.
First lovely silhouette shot.
Yeah, that's not me.
Well, tell the story because it will all become clear.
So they so they whisked me off onto set, and then they put me onto the and then drove me up to this handrail, and I was like, what the fuck? And it was like 20 stairs or something, but each stair was like fucking this big,
Massive.
like angle iron on every stair, and then you got to the top, and there was about maximum 10-foot run up to like a sheer drop off the back of this 10-foot run up, so it's not like you could lean against the bar or anything to kind of press yourself into it. And then this handrail was like sort of like super high at the top. It got quite low quite fast because it was so steep. And then on the landing was all like 20-foot, like 15-foot like run out, but into like spiky fences and
Perfect. Perfect for some heavy handrail.
just massive metal spikes,
Yeah.
like just barbed wire all over the place, and like trashed concrete. It was, post-apocalyptic.
There you go.
Yeah, this shit, and then and look at the size of that thing. And so on the other side was another rail. It was like a roller coaster track, and there was a Daewoo Car on that bit of roller coaster track, and they were like, "Okay, here you go. Do you want to just practice for a bit, and then we'll be back in about an hour?" I was like, "Well, like on my own," and they were like, "Yeah, you got this. Like, just practice for a bit, and we'll be back here in an hour." And I'm like, "I want to wait for all my boys.
Yeah.
I want to wait for all the guys." And I was like, and they were like, "Oh no, they're not coming on set for a bit. They're the vert guys. They'll be here later." And I was like, "I can't do this on my own." And so they kind of like they wandered off and left me there. I just stood at the top of this rail, and I was like, all I was thinking was like, I'm here. I really need £1,000. And then so I was like, oh, I'll give it a shot. And so I went to push up to the rail, and as I just to test it out, and as I pushed up to the rail, the car on the other side kind of went with me, and I was like, whoa, what the fuck?
So they hadn't told you that was going to be.
Not whilst I was practicing. And then they were like, oh no, we need to check the car going down.
So
with
people
you
were
to...
watching you.
Sorry, there was some people controlling this car. There was two
Right,
stuntmen
okay.
in the car.
Yeah.
And whoever was controlling that car, so they were the only people. And then there was this like dude in a hot dog stand or whatever, like kind of overlooking the thing, looking at me, going, "You could fucking kill yourself." And so this car was going down the rail. That's not me, by the way. That I'll get to that in a minute. So I mean,
So that car was going up
It may
and
as
down
well
that
be
rail.
like someone's having a shit on the rail. Yeah, as I was practicing, which was very off-putting, as you can imagine. And so in the end, I was like, some dude came back over and I was like, I need some crash mat. I jumped on it a couple of times, just ollied onto it, like buzzed that it jumped to the flat. I was like, I wouldn't even do this like with loads of people hanging around, and now I'm doing it for like nobody, just the dude in the hot dog stand.
Yeah.
And, so they gave me some crash mats, and then I tried it a couple more times, and the car was just going down the side. I was just like, fucking, this is just the most horrible thing I've ever done. And even if I landed it or got to the bottom, I risked impaling myself on this spike.
Yeah.
And or the rubble. And this here, in the middle bit, that was another set of stairs going down.
So
So on the other side of it, there was like a
Huge
great big drop as well. So
was that purpose built for this?
yeah. And then so I did it like a couple of times. I got the crash mats in, and then one of them I jumped from the top, and I jumped to the bottom after I landed on the rail. Bear in mind, I got broken wrist at this point as well because like I sawed my cast off. And I jumped from the rail to the bottom, and my foot went through the gap in the crash mat, and I was obviously expecting to land on this soft, and then it just, ankle just gone. Like, just broke my ankle. So I was lay on the flat, like broken ankle, on my own, and then eventually, like, I think the stuntman got out and when I got somebody, or the hot dog stand dude, and then so there's the producer came back, and it was just like, oh, this is a nightmare. Who else are we going to get to do this? Who else? Who else do you know? Who else can do this? And I'm just lay there going, fuck you. Like,
Yeah.
I've just fucking broke my ankle. I'm fucked. And all you're concerned about is who else can do this advert. It's like, what about Danny Wainwright? Like, because I think maybe he was in the running or something. But I think maybe they'd asked Wainwright before me. But he was not stupid enough to do it, because he's probably like, oh, I've got a professional skateboard career and like I make money out of this. Whereas I was like, I need £1,000. Yeah. And so I think maybe I was default to get the part. I don't know, but he was mentioning like Wainwright. And he's like, what about Danny Wainwright? And I was like, fuck you, like,
Yeah.
like just. And then at that point, like all the guys turned up, like Sean and Ali and Dave, and they were like, what the fuck have you done to our mate? And they were like, we're not fucking doing this. We're not going to do this ad. Like, look at it. Look at Woody. And next thing, I was getting whisked off to the hospital with the same arsehole that was like
The producer.
Yeah, or whatever he was. Yeah. And like, we just weren't cunts, yeah. But we weren't talking to each other. So it was like this standoff.
Great
We're
day
in the
then.
taxi, and he was trying to talk to me, going, you're still gonna get your money. You're still gonna be fine. And I remember before we got in the taxi, I was back in the makeup tent, and it was like the two women who were doing the makeup were kind of like giving me a little massage, just stroking my head, going, "You still worry? You're still gonna get your money." Almost like, don't fucking sue us. And so I went to the hospital. I remember sat in the waiting room, this fucking barcode tattoo on my face and these silver
Looking like a
backless
right pleb.
Prada vest. Yeah, I mean, I look like someone like a Right Said Fred video. I don't know. I just like really flamboyant kind of dude, and there's loads of like kind of like people in the waiting room who probably just like looking at me going, what the fuck's this dude doing here, like from the future. Like fucking Mad Max.
But they did pay you, right?
So yeah, so in the end, like they did pay me, but I got taken back to on set, like I got like all sorted out and like cast on and crutches back to the set, and they all the boys were like fucking living it up in like a proper tour bus. Like with like all the mod cons, all like drinks laid on, like getting treated like proper rock stars. 'Cause obviously they'd all just gone, fuck you.
Yeah.
For what you've done to Woody, we're not going to do this. And so in the end, they got like a stuntman on a winch to go down the rail. That's why he looks like he's taking a dump whilst he's riding, because I don't know who it is. But he was wearing my fucking shoes as well, because I left like some Coston 2s that I left there. And and then this vert ramp, no one had ever skated anything like this.
Had no flat bottom, did it?
No flat bottom. Had a car in the middle of it with the tracks. It was so high. You can't even see how high it is.
It does
from
look
here.
big there, though.
But eventually, all the guys were dropping in on it, and like Sean Goff was doing like Todd twists on it, and like Yocker Olsen was doing Dave Allen, Ali, all of them managed to like skate stuff on it. But this was like kind of revolutionary at the time, before mega ramps and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, fuck those guys. I wrote a letter. I got Darren from A4 to write me a letter to them, because just sort of like trying to make kind of like a segue into suing them or something, try and get some more money. But they would basically go like, you fucking signed this, you did this, like don't even think about it, like.
Yeah.
So but that was a funny but shit thing.
Yeah, I remember seeing it because Sidehawk did a thing on it as well, didn't they?
Yeah, and that like, I think it was like, but the guy was like, when I was on the floor, he was like, "This is £100,000 a day. Like, we need somebody." And I was just like, "Fuck you!" Like, just look at that guy. I mean, look, it's like just on a winch. Like,
Look at the body position.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
That's fucking awful. Let's go back into so you fucked yourself, collarbone, wrist, ankle, and then was it at that stage you kind of moved more into the business side of things? Like you're already there.
I was already kind of
A4?
working in that world, and then I mean I had a life of Riley at one point because I was working full time at A4. I'd moved into the office at this point. I was on the phones and doing some sales and some customer service stuff. Crazy time to be doing that because it was like
Busy.
Yeah, man, like you were like literally on a phone like that, like one phone in one ear, phone in the other ear, putting someone on silent, speaking to somebody else. Everything was like handwritten onto these order books, and then it just go through to the warehouse. But smallest of customers were doing like sort of £5,000 a phone call, and rather than like one shoe here, one shoe there, like these days. And S in America and Etnies were all killing it at that point because you couldn't get those sorts of shoes from anybody else. And so fuck, where were we?
Transitioning into the
industry dude.
So yeah, I was working in the office there full time, and I was just like, yeah, this is where I want to be now. But I was still going on all the trips because like Turv eventually came into the business at some point, and I was just going away like sort of 5 or 6 times a year on like skate trips to other countries, and still working full time. But they didn't take that time off me as my holidays. A4 were the best. Yeah, so good. I mean, back in that time, they were pumping so much money back into marketing and events and doing things properly. But there was a lot of money coming through, like crazy amounts of money coming through. That time won't be repeated for skateboarder-owned companies again, I don't think.
No,
but
we'll get a bit more into how fucked the industry is in a bit.
Might have run out by then. Like,
so A4, like, how did it all change? And
so we were working there for like I can't remember how many years it was, but it was great. It was a real kind of good entrance into the industry, and I got to meet all the people from Soltech, like Don Brown and Pierre and all the people that were working with at that time, and went to like so many amazing events. Like the first time we went away, we went to like Gliss Expo.
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm fucking segue. It's another story here, but I'll leave that, maybe shelve that.
Well, you can tell it. You don't have to put it in. You can tell us. We can just mute this bit right now. Woody's about to tell us a gnarly story.
No, it wasn't a gnarly story. It was about turning up at Gliss Expo, and like that was the first trip we'd been on. And we drove there, and from Warrington, and it was in Disneyland in France, and I was like Helicar and Howard Cook, and like Alan Green and Darren from A4. And we got there, and then we met up with like Don Brown and all those guys, and just like partying with those lot. But at that particular comp, it was like Tony Hawk, Eric Costin, Mike Vallely, Tom Penny, like McCrank. Everyone was there. You know, that it was when everyone was going to all the events. And we were in this comp, so it was my first time seeing Tony Hawk, and as a kid, and you're like fucking Tony Hawk, like, I grew up knowing this name. And it turned out that for my run in my in the comp, there was like categories of 5 people, and like Tony Hawk was in my category. So it was in my heat. So like I was like up after Tony Hawk in the comp.
Yeah.
Skating. I remember like the scorecard was stuck to the wall with these Orangina stickers because they were the sponsor, and then it was just like my name like next to Tony Hawk's with the points. And Tony Hawk had only like beat me by like 5 points. So I like ripped it off the wall. I've got it somewhere at home, but it's just, I was like, I know Tony Hawk's not a street skateboarder or anything like that, but
it's Tony Hawk, though, isn't it?
Still quite nice to be there. And it's like, he beat me by 5 points. So yeah. But anyway, I digress, as we have been doing. Where were we? A4.
Good times at A4. And
yeah.
How it came to
I had a lot of great experiences, a lot of good times there, and got to travel a lot with the job, and eventually they were doing really, really well, and so Soltech wanted to buy them out, and I think they came in and gave them the owners quite a healthy figure for it, because it was it was goodwill. Soltech are a good company, they like to do things right, so they bought it. And unfortunately, at that point, when they bought it, Frank Messman had come in to oversee the whole European side of things, and he was just cutting people left, right, and centre. So the whole sort of dream started to fade a little bit, and then the economy crashed. It was like 2008. And fucking shit hit the fan big time. And then I don't think it ever recovered really after that, really. But yeah, so but we came back to a degree, and obviously Soltec's has always done all right. But then works with Soltec for I was with one shape or one form or another. Been with Soltec for like 26 years, like sort of team
Long
rider,
time. Yeah.
working for them. Yeah, I've been made redundant by them a couple of times and come back. But like, then I've been like an agent for them. So they're like kind of like been like family over the years, really. The whole Soltec side of things. But
we won't get into like what's
is
is it even public? No, I guess it is.
Yeah. So
it's changed a lot recently. Soltec being bought by Nideca Group.
Yeah, it's been bought by Nideca. I mean, they held out for as long as they could.
Yeah,
being like a skater owned business, and they are still sort of skater owned. It's like through Nideca. It's a snowboard company, but we all know how things are recently, and it's just so tough for those independent skater owned footwear company, especially.
Yeah, absolutely.
To try and compete in the market these days.
Yeah,
because it kind of like it's hard for them to get the support of people, and they don't really have the money to kind of push things forward.
So it's expensive to make shoes.
It's expensive, really expensive to make shoes, and it's really hard to keep up with all the businesses that are out there now pushing towards getting their foot into skateboarding. No pun intended.
Did you listen to Don Brown's latest 9 Club?
Yeah.
Because he goes into quite a lot of detail about it, so that's really interesting. We can find out more about it.
Yeah, I mean, go and listen to Don Brown's 9 Club to find out more about it, because I mean, these are the conversations that we've always all had together over the years. Spoke about at length and the pitfalls and the perils of trying to make it in today's world as a skateboarder owned
tough times
footwear company. Yeah. So it's really tough, and so eventually we're not working with them anymore.
So you've been at Spiv Agency now for doing Spiv for how long? And Spiv was like 14 agency for
years now.
Yeah, and you had Soltec that whole time.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. When I last we got made redundant in 2010, 2008, 2009, whenever the crash happened.
Yeah,
it was just not enough money to keep somebody on working with those brands. Like, I started off doing Altamont when I was first went to being a sales rep, and then I was doing Eston America, and then there was just no money to keep somebody on as an employed rep, because you've got the car, you've got the fuel, the hotels, the wage, the contract with that employee. So it just made sense to go to an agency. So we shifted it over to someone I've known for a long time, called Carl Burnham, who worked with me.
Big up Carl.
He was doing Dickies. So we moved Eston America into Dickies, because Carl had already started doing Altamont after I'd stopped doing it, because there was not enough money just in Altamont to have a rep just doing that. I can love Altamont. It's one of the best.
It was really good brand, wasn't it? It's a shame it.
So we moved that into Eston America, into Spiv.
Yeah.
With Carl, who was so we had Altamont Eston America in Spiv, and that was the beginning of Spiv being not just Carl, but being like me and Carl. Carl would do all the Dickies stuff, and I'd do all the skateboard side of stuff, like from a sales perspective. But then I also I was like, fuck, like it was a real kind of eye opener that everything could just be taken away from you in a flash, and you can't settle in that industry and just be like, oh, I'll just do this for the rest of my life. I was like, oh, like my whole identity felt like it had been taken away from me when I got made redundant. So I was like, oh, what else am I into? And so I was like, well, I've always kind of fucked myself up and had loads of injuries.
Yeah.
And on the back of that, just ended up reading loads into injuries and the body and everything else, and like rehab. So I was like, I've always kind of like fancied the idea of being like a physiotherapist. So so I just, within like a month, I got myself onto an access to health course, which is like physics, human biology, sociology or something like that, like for a year intensive course in order to get like kind of A-level type grades to get into university.
And you've got a bachelor's in it, haven't you?
And next thing you know, I'm like,
Bachelor's of Science and Physio.
So before I even knew it, I was like on a physio degree in like at Manchester Metropolitan University, and I did really fucking well as well. I got like a 2-1.
Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, I loved it, and I did really well in all of my assessments and got really good grades. I'd never done very well at school.
Yeah.
So it was like, for me, it was almost a challenge to prove to myself that I wasn't like some dicko that they made you feel like at school because you didn't. Yeah. Going back to what we were talking about earlier, like in private. But yeah, I just wasn't built.
A private discussion. It was a private discussion, you and me.
But I wasn't like built for school.
Same.
All I was like daydreamer and just easily distracted and all those things. So it was for me, it was a real challenge to do that degree, and I did it. And I got my degree, and then I was fully prepared to start working in that world. And but I ended up back because I'd always still working with Soul Technology and through the Spiv Agency and Carroll with Dickies. But then Dickies started flying, like we all know how it flew before it was sold. It was so good, and like Carl was doing such a good job of it. So there was enough money in the agency to sort of like support us both on full time. Yeah. And then we started building the agency we got now from that point, with Numeric, Altamont, Dickies, and then God, we've worked with so many people through the years to now, really.
And now Spiv is the agency for
New Balance. Yeah. So
which is hot shit.
Yeah, and I'm so thankful and honoured to be working with them, because we lost Dickies as well. Yeah. And when VF bought that. Yeah, and my God, that was a slap in the face, because I'd invested a lot of time into. Yeah,
it is kind of sad, those agency deals. I mean, you got to have that contract in place. The agency rights and stuff like that. But yeah, they can come in. I mean,
they come in and get rid of you at any point. Yeah, and it's really scary, and it kind of fills you with like kind of low level anxiety at all times, because you never know when that day is going to come.
Well, it's always kind of hard as well, because these brands will be not in the UK. And I think there's a real warped idea of how much business the UK should be doing, and the Americans or other brands outside,
because they see it as massive, and
they think it's fucking tiny. We live on a tiny
island.
But
then if you look at like the map and you see how much of it is just uninhabited, like fucking Northumbria or like,
but there's always
Scotland or wherever.
That's what I mean. There's not much going on. But the brands have expectations, and they're a bit clueless sometimes. I mean, I have conversations with people, and I just think like, where do they think this? How much of this do they think people are selling?
Yeah, there's always like a kind of real kind of warped idea of how much business. I mean, with the right brands, there's a lot of business here, but you have to get like, you have to go past the skate crowd into the mainstream.
You cannot survive.
You can't make the money
just
out of just skateboarding and just skate
You
shops.
can try all you like, but it's not happening.
Well, there'd be no point. No business. There's like, for how many skate shops there are and how much they would spend for every season. And then if you're an agency, you're working on like a commission basis. You'd just be like, I'll just go and do something else.
It's just not worth it. And not just that, it's getting them to pay for it. Yeah, it's like you can get the order, that's hard enough, and then getting them to actually pay for it is like, that's almost the biggest battle, isn't it?
Yeah.
But Spiv is like, from an outside point of view, seems to be in good space. You're the agents for HLC. I mean, we've got Element, Ruka.
Yeah, we've got Element, Ruka, HLC. Also, like the fact every brand that comes under HLC, like sort of Flip, Skate Mafia,
and New Balance, obviously.
Got New Balance. Got like a little brand called Manchester brand called Huskies, like work shirts and stuff, and Brixton.
Of course, I always forget.
What else have we got?
How did New Balance come in?
CHPO is like big up Victor.
How did New Balance come into the mix of the brand?
So that was from a lot of conversations with Mackie, we all know Dave Mackey,
Big up Dave Mackey.
like like nothing else. And guess he was just like sounding us out, and kind of knew. I got the idea, I got the impression why he was like talking. I've known Mackey since I was a kid. We go back a long way. Like we've never been like quite so close as we are now, but we've always been like friends for like forever growing up. And Mackey, you know what he's like. He's like fucking super passionate.
Yeah.
Just wants the best for skateboarding. Just wants the best for everybody that's involved in it, and just wants to protect it. But he's very sensible with everything that he does, and he obviously was looking for a new angle because he'd had the job at New Balance for like a number of years, but then I guess he was getting like further and further into the brand and been given more responsibility, and I guess like at that point he was like the brand manager for EMEA, which is like Europe, Middle East, Africa, like basically the whole of this kind of half of the globe. So he was the brand manager for Numeric, the skates. Well, I don't need to tell anyone what it is. It's the skates out of New Balance. But so we've always known over the years like what each other's moral compass is as far as what's needed for skateboarding and to help it survive and flourish in the best possible way. Still make money, but be as ethical with it as you can, and nurture it, and like I'm the sort of person who wears my heart on the sleeve. So is Mackie, and we just speak and like he's like, would you be interested like in doing it? And I was like, fucking, if you're involved and Seb's involved, and Baines is involved,
Seb Palmer, Baines, you got the
knowing what they were doing, even though it's like a kind of big footwear company. There's not a skateboard footwear company, but what New Balance is like. Everything that they get involved with, they really support from the roots.
Push it.
It's like running, like basketball, whatever. So it's like, it sounds really interesting, but it's like, I'm working with like S in America, and so I was like, I mean, I can ask, but I was like, first and foremost, I was like, if it means that we can't do S in America, then maybe it's a no, because those guys have been family for forever.
A long time.
But my hope was obviously that Soltec would say yes.
I mean, from an outsider's point of view, surely that can only help being in the same distro agency with two strong brands within skating.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, because Stu Titmus was doing it beforehand.
Yeah.
And I think the ideal would have been to keep Stu doing it. But Stu had family commitments and lives down in Cornwall, no inclination to move, and I think they needed it more of like a city location. And obviously we've got the agency set up with all of our customer base and the brands to sit with it. And so I spoke to Hans, who was working at Soltec at the time in Europe, and I was just like, this is what we kind of want to do. And we've lost Dickies, massive amount of money missing out of the agency, like to keep us afloat, which would pay for the staff and pay for the building and the warehousing, like everything, on all the expenses that we have as an agency, because we have a lot of expenses as an agency, and you've got to make a lot of money before you even pass go. So I spoke to Hans, and he was like, I was like, because like New Balance are cool with it. Like, so, but for you, it could help get you in front of more people as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Because where we're failing to get people in for appointments with S in America, which is such a shame because it's a skater-owned brand and all the skater-owned shops.
But if you can get in there with New Balance, and
then
whilst I'm here, I've got something I want to show you.
Yeah, well, exactly. So the idea was that hopefully it would help, and New Balance, like the numeric side of it, with like Seb Palmer and the guys in the States, they're like. Seb used to work for Soltec. He used to be the brand manager at S.
Yeah.
So they were like, no, it's fine. We'd love to sit next to those guys, and it helps both sides. They've got the core skateboard brand here, got the kind of like the core brand out of the sportswear brands, I guess, with Numeric, and everyone's on the same page. No one's trying to do each other out of business.
Exactly,
Everyone wants each other to succeed.
Yeah.
Genuinely. yeah, it worked well for a while. I think it helped Soltech a little bit. You speak to some guys at Soltech sometimes, and they're like, oh, I don't kind of like feel like maybe your efforts are going into this. Obviously, it's started to make more money. It wasn't like killing it, especially when we took it on. But then the brand itself just went like,
yeah. I mean, there's a real
and we've got
awareness now that New Balance is really supporting a lot of stuff within skating.
It is, and it's down to those things that we were saying about before, like the moral compass. The people that are involved, like everybody skates, like all the global office in Long Beach, like you got like the designer Jeff. What's that? Sorry,
Chad Tim working there.
Chad Tim, Levi Brown, Jeff Mycutt. I can never say his last name properly, but like the designer. Tyrone Romero, Seb Palmer, Jason Rothmeyer. Like he was like from my childhood seeing him in 411 with the Bad Religion soundtrack.
Yeah.
Like that was like got me listening to Bad. I used to watch that part over and over again to listen to the Bad Religion records. So not soundtrack, but so it's like from the inside out, and every one of those people, every one of those guys at that company is 100% skateboarding and heart and soul.
It comes across like that as well.
Yeah, it's probably going to get a bit too kind of over the top here talking about it, but it is genuine kind of like love for skateboarding and the need for skateboarding to flourish and to do things properly and to look after the shops, to look after skateboarding. And so we were like, because for me, I've been known to bitch about some of the sportswear, footwear brands coming into skateboarding over the years. Yeah, because I was working for Soltech.
Yeah,
and I'd seen like Nike come in and completely just
fuck everything up.
I just ruin it, like, you know, because we're a skater-owned brand, and we're trying to sell to skater-owned shops, and they're not buying it. Yeah, and they're buying Nike and. So,
who else was it that we had on the show? Was it Warman?
Yeah, I mean, it will have been.
When Nike
it was a really painful time, and it carried on to this present day. I mean, most shops would give you like a compassionate order for the shoes, but they'd be like, "Oh, it's just not selling," and you're like, "Well, you're not really pushing it." It's like, well, you go through the shops and their Instagram sites, and you'd be like, "Well, it was like 5 years ago. Was the last time you put up a picture of a pair of Americas?" Yeah. It's like your customer doesn't know that you're supporting it.
You don't have them.
So it was quite a painful time and
probably quite panicked.
I talked some shit. Like, not bad shit really, but I was just like, why is everyone like just fucking getting sucked in by this crap? But and then eventually they fucked a load of people. Well,
sucked in and spat out, weren't they?
Yeah. So, but so we're trying to do. I speak to Mackie like daily for hours, and we end up just getting on this kind of like, it's about doing the right thing and doing everything differently than what's been done before. Yeah, if they did that and that fucked up, don't do that. And it was like you learn by the mistakes that have come before and gone. And there's ways to grow a business and to do well with it, but to do it in the right way. And you know, if that business ever ends up having to be extended elsewhere, there's got to be a way to do it which still looks after everybody else and still keeps the company happy. And that's not on the cards, but like, you know, who knows what goes on in the future? Who knows if I'll be there? But at the moment, we're just like, this is what we want to do. We're all on the same page. We've got like this big family of like guys who work for them. Like we've got like Ollie and Maxie from Arrow and Beast, who do an ensemble agency over in Europe. We've got Andreas, the new sales manager, and like Vince Brasol. Yeah. Is that his last name, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Cliche. Yeah. Yes. Yes. So Vince is the raddest, and Gregor, and we all talk regularly about how we can keep as like a European unit, how we can keep things like rolling properly and do the best for everyone. And we're trying to help stores out with like, I mean, the internal battles that not battles, because the crew at New Balance are actually really good, but we've still, it's not like the business they're used to with the lifestyle side of things. So we're trying to explain to them how the skate side of things work and how these small orders from these small stores like mean that the bigger guys continue to order because these guys are very influential, or they might not spend so much money. But we have to keep this side of things rolling. So we're not going to start putting like minimum orders on people. Or if someone needs some help, we're going to do our best to help them internally get some like credit extension and it's fucking hard sometimes. You spend all your time fighting fires, which I think a lot of people don't see, and they're just like, oh. But like we are trying to help people behind the scenes, like non-stop, trying to fight for them to keep their credit, trying to get their terms extended so they can pay over a longer, and it's not easy. And we have to have these conversations, and people are looking at us going, you know, they're selling like millions of pounds worth of shoes to whoever, and they're looking at us like kind of on the phone pleading for someone to like retain their kind of £500, £1,000 credit limit, or like whatever it is. But the bigger picture is, we've been in this business long enough to know what it takes to make it work. And it's trying to explain all these little intricacies to someone who doesn't know how it works.
They don't understand
because they've only ever been dealing with like the big bucks. Mackie will talk to you about New Balance far better, more eloquently than what I'll be able to talk to you about it. But like I think New Balance understand it, but like skateboarding is a small part of what New Balance is. It's like what, like 1% or something, I don't know. But the reverberations from doing well in skateboarding and how that affects the wider sphere of New Balance, I don't think that can really be underestimated, especially when you got all these like the kids, they'll get into the shoes when they're like skateboarding, and then they'll maybe buy some lifestyle shoes for like hanging around and whatever.
I got some lifestyle ones downstairs.
Yeah, there you go. But in terms of like New Balance supporting it, like we went to the last sales meeting in Long Beach, and there was a couple of guys in there. I didn't know who they were, and went to the pub, and we were just like, oh, they're just some guys from New Balance, like, you know, the main brand. And then we went to the pub to watch the basketball, and I'd ended up wandering in on my own. One of those guys was in there, and he was just like, oh, come over and we'll watch the basketball. Do you want a beer? So I got a beer, and I just sat with him. And then it turns out that this dude's like Chris Davis, like the son of the owner of New Balance.
Oh, right.
He's at the sales meeting for the skate side of it, paying close interest to what's going on, fully backing it, like, you know. So that's why I can work for New Balance. But like, I mean, I wouldn't have ever got a job with anyone else. Let's face it, from some of the things I've said over the years. But yeah, so that's where we are with New Balance, and it's fucking rad, and it's working, and
definitely.
It feels doing it right. Yeah, it feels good doing it, like, because you're trying to do everything right, and they give me a lot of leeway as well. Like, I've got a really good team in the office. I've got a really good team. The people in the office that kind of like that I report to, really, like Nia, and Pat, and Steve, and Matt, and Sal. Like, you know, they've got our back, and sometimes they'll listen to me say something and be like, what the fuck are you asking here? Like, and then I'll explain it to them. They'll be like, okay, if that's what you think will work and what you think's needed, let's do it. And they're really good. And, you know, some of the money from like we're talking about, it's like so little. But they can still give a shit, and they're still like listening to us and going, okay, well, we're having a conversation here for like an hour about someone that owes like £1,000, but they still like see it's important to talk about it and to solve the problem. And to come back with a solution. And sometimes they must think we're mental, but it's all for a reason, because we know what's been done in the past and what needs to be done in the future to sort of protect this thing and keep it going.
Keep it going.
Because it's pretty, like, you know, as we know, skateboarding is a special thing, and it could easily be taken away, and, you know, the shops close down, and the sportswear brands will go, we don't have to fucking protect it anymore. It's fair game. We just put it everywhere, and if you want these shoes, you just have to buy them from JD or whatever. We don't want it to get there, because as soon as that happens, skateboarding has changed for good, and the events and the video premieres and the stupid fun shit that we all do through the skate shops, it's just gone. And then what you're left with skateboarding, then who are the dudes that are skateboarding? Fucking Jagger eating and fucking people like that. Not to have a fucking particular dig at him, but like, I get the feeling it's like
well, that guy
different guys, aren't they? Cut from a different cloth. It's more like kind of jock sport.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know you're saying. But yeah, New Balance.
Maybe it's
doing a lot
wrong.
of
I didn't
good
mean to
stuff.
pick on anyone. I'm not here to pick on anyone.
No.
Just one thing I seen or read somewhere, that you met Harold Hunter and then Leo accidentally knocked you out or something. Like,
It
what,
accidentally knocked me out.
like what's that about?
So we were on a trip to New York, and it was on
Why was you on a trip to New York?
because there was Estelle, the rapper,
Yeah.
pop artist, whatever she wanted to
Yeah.
call, that American boy.
Yeah.
So
How's it go?
You'll be my American boy. That song was written about you.
No, yeah, imagine. So she was on Etnies, believe it or not. She had a shoe. She had a shoe coming out.
Amazing.
So they were opening an Etnies New York office. So we just went out there on a little trip with Skip and Connolly and Joe Gavin.
Big up Simon Skip.
Jez Curran, Jez Curran.
Yeah, Jess Curran, yeah.
Yeah, he's lived with Jez for years, like really good friend of mine. Who else was there? Leo.
Big up Leo Sharp.
They got Leo Sharp. I think that was a lot of us, and then it was fucking amazing. Like, skating around New York, just skating through the streets, like just fucking best thing ever.
Kind of gives you that raw feeling of street skating again,
like
doesn't it?
because you can skate with the blocks, can't you, with the traffic?
Yeah.
So you can just skate all the way down.
Yeah.
All the way down the island. So we're over there for that, but we were all like crushed into this like tiny room in the Madison Square Gardens Hotel or something like that. Can't remember, but we were only one person was supposed to be staying in that room, but there was all of us staying in that room. We just had to sort of like shimmy past security like a couple of times a day to get in there. But we went out. Leo knows Redder, Giovanni Redder, so we went out to meet him. Went to his kind of strange little apartment that was spread over like two bits. It was like some sort of broom cupboard turned into an apartment, but then like his bedroom was across the hallway from like, and then in like this kind of like foyer, and then his bedroom was in another part. So it was like he had two sections of his house. But we went out with him and just went out around town, and then we bumped into Harold Hunter with his girlfriend, and he was wearing like tux and like a fucking bowler hat or something. Just looked amazing. It was just like, like when you bump into someone like Harold Hunter, like someone of that caliber, just like, what the fuck? And he was like, you want to come to party? We were like,
in that accent.
yeah, you want to come to party? You want to make party?
Your party at the beach.
In that accent, he's like, hey, do you want to come and party with me? And so we were like, you're fucking damn right, yeah. And so we went to it turned out to be like a vice party, and it was like just free booze, and yeah, it was just mental. We just like knocking about at Harold Hunter and just all just getting wasted, and we were just like taking the bottles of this like of the spirits from behind the bar and just chugging them down. It was all just getting a bit out of hand, and then I think in my memory, Leo had dunked me in a bin of when people are throwing away the drinks, and eventually that people have been throwing away half full drinks, and eventually that bin starts to fill up with liquid, just basically booze. And I feel like I was dunked in that, like, 'cause I'm quite light and easy to pick up, and Leo's fucking Hercules.
Yeah.
And so he dunks me in this bin. Maybe I didn't. I feel that's what I remember happening.
Phone him up and
So anyway, I just got these two because we were all throwing drinks at fucking wild times, Like, did I say Ben Powell was there as well? Like,
big up Ben Powell.
Yeah, and because Ben was looking after me and Leo after the incident, but it was so I think I got two drinks, and Leo was still throwing stuff at me, and I just got 2 drinks saved, and I just like when Leo got near me, I just point blank range just threw them in his face, and Leo is quick to react.
Yeah.
He's quick. He's got quite a temper. He's a fucking loveliest guy in the world, but he's got a temper like that. And before these drinks had even hit him in the face, he'd fucking floored. Like, he just knocked me out with his big Leo fist. and floored me. So I just fucking lay on the floor and like got like fucking red as like slapping her on the face, going, "You okay, dude?" And I'm like, I've just been hit by Leo Sharp. Like, but I was all right. I'd come off quite lightly, and I got pulled up, and Leo just like, bless him, I just burst into tears and just ran off. And I fucking burst into tears and then like ran off after him, and then the rest of the night we were just like hugging each other because we're like really good mates.
Yeah.
You know, Leo's like, you know, one of my longest, like closest friends.
He's fucking
I
great.
love him, yeah. And but yeah, he floored me, and obviously it was fucked off that he floored me. But like, I think it was just like, it's quite a stress being like the photographer and carrying around all the equipment, going on all these trips and being away from home. And Leo was away a lot more than any of us were. Or maybe it was a straw that broke Camel's back or something. But
I used to laugh at Leo for
we were
like,
good
all
straight
of
away,
the gear
obviously.
that he used to carry. Like, because of all of his camera gear, and then...
You had to be, like, as big as Leo to fucking carry that turtle shell around.
It's kind of changed now, isn't it?
And then I ran into him, and it was me with, like, the pull-along case with the camera with the big lens, and he just had, like, this small backpack on, and I can't remember what he said to me, but it was just something like, times are always changing, or something like that, and I was like, fuck.
But it was just a really boozy moment that we can both laugh at, and it was we were like fucking sound of each other like straight away after. It's just like funny that like we were so close, and that's like, and he floored me, but it was just because we were so fucking drunk. Like, and you know, you always goes one step, like when your mum used to say when your kids like, someone's gonna end up fucking crying here. Like, not that my mum swore, my mum said it right the fucking. But yeah, it's like someone's gonna end up crying. It's like, yeah, we're both of us. Ben was just like kind of like sat there going, "What the fuck is it?" These two like dudes go, "I fucking love you, man. Like, fucking so I would never hit you, but like I fucking you, 2 drinks and fucking dunk your head in the bin." Like,
that's amazing.
I fucking love Leo though.
Yeah,
Big up Leo. Come on the show, Leo.
He's the best.
Me and Toby will let you knock us both out.
You can happily come on a show and knock Forde out.
I think maybe Leo doesn't like me telling that story because it like kind of ruins his nice.
We'll double check with him before we put it.
Well, on that note, I think we covered a lot of ground there.
Thank
Round
you,
of
Woody.
applause, please, for Woody and the CEO audience. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Cheers, mate.
Sorry about all that.
Wait, fucking shut up.